How's it hanging, YouTube? Peter here, your Ginger Jody Geek. Welcome back to the channel for another Saturday Night Live. Excited to get into this. There's some interesting topics to talk about a little bit later on, and we're going to be giving away some free comic books and cards a little bit later on in the show. So, as ever, I'm joined by my good pals. So we've got Luke from Hydra Collectibles. How are you, Luke?
I'm very good. Always happy to be here, and yeah, good week to come on because we're talking Spider-Man.
Yeah. I thought we'd do a bit. Well, I'll explain why we're talking Spider-Man later on. But I thought it would be interesting to have a bit of a chat and a debate about the old web slinger himself. We're also joined by good old Highland G. How are you, sir?
Hi, I'm good too. I'm probably not your Spider-Man expert, so I'm probably going to learn something today.
Good, just wing it later on, all right? You'll be fine. But yeah, you'll learn stuff, I'm sure, about the wall crawler himself. We will hopefully be joined by Chris in a little bit. He's just wrapping up another show, and he's a massive Spider-Man fan. So hopefully he'll be joining with to spread some knowledge later on. So just before we start, guys, we'll quickly jump into the chat. We have got, as ever, good old StreamYard. Nice to see you. Hope you are well. We've got good old Fuzzy. Roll up, roll up. Thank you very much for joining, Fuzzy. Always appreciate you, my friend. We've got VP. Nice to see you, VP. And we've got the One Good Scare Show, which is a tremendous new channel I recommend you go and check out over on good old YouTube. So this is, of course, James T. Keegan, who is at work tonight, or else he would have been joining as well. We've got Andrew. Always a pleasure to see you, Andrew. And we've got Terry, the good old dead man. Nice to see you, Terry. Hope you're all well. VP's just saying he needs to head out, but he'll catch one on the rewind. No problem at all, VP. Catch you in a bit, my friend. Okay, chaps, let's just crack straight on because there's a lot I want to get through tonight, and I'm interested in your thoughts on a few things. So, as I said, we're going to be talking Spider-Man later on, and I'll explain in a little bit more detail why we're talking Spider-Man. Just going to quickly say hello to Chris. Nice to see you, Chris. And we've got Sean. Thank you for joining. Fuzzy. Yeah, you got the name right. That's because it's written on the screen, Fuzzy. Do you know what I mean? If I had to try and recall it from this grey matter of mine, I still wouldn't have gotten it right. It's so bloody complicated, man. But never mind. We'll go there. Okay, chaps. Same format as usual. We've got some news items to talk about. We're going to talk about what we've been watching and reading. And we're going to talk a little bit about Spider-Man at the end. So we'll start off with some news features. Well, not, actually. I forgot about this. Before we do that, I just want to mention this. This is the DC Multiverse Hybrid card game. I'm just plugging this a little bit. So the good fellas at Zavvi, in conjunction with Hero Cards, have sent me a box of these cards. Well, two boxes, actually. A box for me to open myself and a box for me to give away. So these are hybrid NFT cards. You get 7 cards in a pack. And basically, anytime I'm running a giveaway on any of my channels or any of my shows, we'll be giving away some of these cards as well. I don't understand the whole bloody NFT thing, I have to be honest. Any of you guys understand NFTs? Are you into NFTs?
Nope, not even.
Non-fungible token or something, isn't it?
I know what it is, but I don't really care.
Yeah.
I understand, like, the whole idea is to both lock a digital document so that it can't be edited or recreated. So, like, I understand from, like, a legal standpoint. Imagine you could make, like, your house deeds as an NFT or something. Like, that would totally make sense. But random pictures, I don't know. I think it's just a fad.
Yeah, well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because, hi, Roscoe, nice to see you, mate. It's interesting because I think it was maybe last year, everybody got really, really excited. Got really excited about NFTs, and I remember a lot of big name comic kind of people were trying to push them quite hard, saying, "Oh, they're fantastic, and it's the future of collecting, and they're going to be worth loads of money in the future." And it just seems to have kind of died. I've not heard anything about them for a long time.
Promotion.
Yeah, I mean,
they made their money.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, when you look at a lot of these things, even like cryptocurrency, it only really sustains on people believing in the value of the cryptocurrency. So it's only worth what people believe it's worth. It's not really worth anything against the dollar or the pound. So as long as the hype's there, these things are worth money and people will buy them off each other. But once the hype dies down, the actual value is not really funded in anything physical. So at that point, it's really hard to put a true value on any of these things.
So with these,
really, right?
sorry, say again, mate.
It was just another gimmick, right? It was a bit like when people were buying a share of a comic book, but not owning the
Yeah,
actual book.
I mean, there are still a lot of people who say that they're worth value, but I don't know. I looked into it at the time out of interest more than anything, but it didn't. I want to feel it in my hand. I want the physical item, you know. Anyway, these cards do have, you get physical cards, but you also get an NFT with it as well. Hi, Chris. How are you, sir?
Good. Sorry I'm a little late, guys. Only Slabs just went a little bit over the top of the hour.
No problem at all, mate. No problem at all. We're just talking about NFTs. Are you familiar with NFTs, Chris?
I am familiar with them, but I have not invested. I only play along with the free stuff that's available to me now and then.
Yeah, we're just saying I've been gifted these cards, this box of cards, which are NFTs as well, to give away on the channel. But it's gone very quiet on the NFT front, I think, certainly from my perspective. I don't understand them at all, but interesting stuff. Okay, chaps, we've got 18 people watching. Please do hit that like and subscribe. Make sure you're following everybody and everybody's channels, and we'll give away some stuff in a little while. Let's hit ourselves with some news to start with. And this is very, very sad. So this is obviously Keith Giffen, co-creator of Rocket Raccoon and Lobo, and probably the thing I know most for is the Justice League International, and that humour he injected into that series has sadly passed away. Now he put on his official kind of site, this came on the day he died. I told him I was sick, anything not to go to New York Comic Con. Thanks, Keith Griffin. Bwahahaha. So I don't know who the hell has put that on. I don't know if it's his admin or whoever, but you know, just a great touch. Another industry legend lost to it, very, very sadly. And I guess, I don't know what you guys are like, but I'm kind of starting, well, I have realised for a little while now, but starting to really recognise that some of these legends of the comic book community are all starting to get on in years a little bit. And we've had a fair few over the last year or so passing away, sadly. Anybody want to mention anything about this gentleman and about any of his works?
Sure. Like, let's be honest. He was the introduction with Omega Man and the main man Lobo.
Yeah.
If you may not even read DC Comics, but everyone is aware of who Lobo is. This is a guy that's not afraid to take on anyone in the DC universe. You know, he claims that he bitch slaps his Superman around. Like, that just goes to show what kind of character he is, and one of those type of characters that breaks the fourth wall. And Keith Giffen was there. Like, it's and obviously Rocket Raccoon, everyone, you know, in pop culture is familiar with him. It's a sad day, but it kind of made me smile with all the social media aspects surrounding his death. I don't know if that was his partner that was having a little bit of fun that he requested or whatever, but yeah, it's been a pretty dark couple of years when it comes to legendary comic creators passing away.
Yeah, it is. And like I say, I mean, I remember reading, in particular, Justice League Europe and International back in the day, and just the humour that he injected into some of these big mainstream characters, you know, just gave them a whole new life, So yeah, incredible. Luke, are you familiar with his work?
So, I'll be honest with you guys, I didn't know who this gentleman was. So, it came up and I went, oh, I clearly someone from the comic book world, but I had no idea who he was. And so I done a little bit of research, and yeah, I very quickly noticed the works that he was involved with. So I didn't know the man. I didn't know who he was up until the day that he died, but I did know the work. I did know the characters. I did know the stuff that he worked on. So yeah, very, very sad indeed.
Yeah. How about you, Highland G? You're not a massive Marvel DC fan, are you, in terms of the Justice League?
I mean, I do follow DC, but it's kind of more specific characters and kind of stuff like that. So obviously I'm aware of, again, as kind of like Luke was saying, I'm aware of a lot of these kind of creations and things, but I probably would have read more modern takes by like Chuck Dixon or something like that rather than the originals.
Yeah. And again, that's a testament of some of these characters, isn't it? That they've been picked up by other writers and fleshed out over the years. Cliff's just saying there, I'm positive Keith left instruction for that final tweet. Yeah, I would imagine so. It feels like that kind of humour. And Dead Man, absolutely. That scene, if you guys aren't familiar with it, there's this superb scene in the Justice League run where Guy Gardner's being typical Guy Gardner and, you know, being an absolute ass. And Batman decks him with one punch. And it's just hilarious. And Blue Beetle, just for the rest of that issue, is kind of laughing and just saying one punch. And it's beautifully done, you know. It's really, really cool. So yeah, very, very sad news. Now, this is an interesting bit of news. I don't know if you guys have caught up on this. So there's been a whole host of Daredevil Born Again news this week. It's turned out that they've pretty much scrapped and rewrote it. So apparently Daredevil didn't appear as Daredevil in costume until about episode 4. 4 or 5, I think it was, yeah. And it's predominantly been a courtroom-based drama up till that point. And apparently Kevin hated it, thought it was dreadful, fired all the writers, and has basically restarted from scratch. I don't know how I feel about this, because I have to say, out of that abomination, sorry, Fuzzy, that was the She-Hulk series, the bits I enjoyed most were the back and forth in the courtroom with Daredevil. You know, I quite liked that element to it. I'm quite pleased in some regards that if this was dreadful, someone's waded in and said, actually, stop, let's start again. What do you guys think about this? We'll start with you, Chris.
I think this is wonderful news. Not to go against what you're saying, Pete, but when I look back at the Marvel properties that have been on television, I think Daredevil, even though it was originally outside the MCU, a part of the Netflix shows that came on, I think Daredevil was hands down the best. And I know that there was some courtroom stuff, and there was stuff obviously when him and Foggy started up their law office together, but it was the action and those battle scenes with Daredevil, you know, with the first season walking across the hallway in between each room, taking on the Russian mafia for that one, and then the second season where he's going down the staircase with all the bikers and the biker gangs that were taking him on. So I was hoping, since they landed the powerhouse actors that portray both Kingpin and the Punisher, to come back in this, that's what we would be giving this noir flavor of film and storytelling that the MCU on Disney Plus has not had, outside of some moments in Loki so I thought this was wonderful news. The part that I heard that to me was the most heartbreaking about what could have been is that he wasn't even in the suit for the 4th episode. Like, what are they thinking? Like, what are they thinking? Like this, let's like, imagine Spider-Man not in the suit for the first hour of his own movie. Like, that's ludicrous to think. But I think this is wonderful news, and they need to clearly they need to have a shift in the storytelling that they've been doing, and we're starting to see a little bit of that with the new Loki, where I think it's been really, really good. Obviously, you guys may have a different opinion, but a shift away from what they've been doing, and I thought that Daredevil would be the one where they can fire on all cylinders for that noir type of storytelling. Sorry to go long, but I'm passionate.
Do you think that? Do you think they're starting to wake up a little bit at Disney now and realise that they can't just keep churning out subpar stuff? Hopefully they're starting to open their eyes a little bit.
Yeah, not everything has to be that 8 to 16 demographic. Don't be afraid to put a rated R or a cautionary warning on the series. You know, like it's okay to do stuff for the 18 and above, even if it's going to be on streaming with Disney Plus.
Absolutely. No, I agree. Highland J, are you a fan of the Daredevil series? Did you watch that one on Netflix?
Yeah, it's one of the few I actually really got into. I really enjoyed Punisher and Daredevil. I think Daredevil tailed off a little bit towards the end, but like I enjoyed both of them kind of overall. And as you were kind of saying there, like I think it was more paced, it was more action packed in that kind of sense. And that Netflix kind of got away with that in a way. I think as well, though, because they've already established the character in the Netflix series, we don't need the establishment. So where Disney loves to spend an entire season and then have 1 or 2 episodes that are the things that kind of keep you wanting to watch the next season, they normally put it in the tail end of the season just to kind of keep you watching the whole thing. And it's all about, subscription time, how long you're going to watch the show for and all that kind of stuff. You don't really need that. But at the same time, I do think there was a bit lacking on the kind of lawyer side on the Daredevil Netflix show. So personally, I would like a slight delay, but I would like them to kind of almost do it as a kind of sleight of hand. So have like 2 episodes where it's focused on courtroom-based, sort of drama. He's trying to get back to normal. He's reestablishing his friendships. He's got everything kind of leveling out, and he thinks he can kind of maybe give up Daredevil. And then something happens with like Punisher or Kingpin, and he has to put the suit back on in like the 2nd or 3rd episode. Yeah. Don't leave it till 4 or 5, but I think something.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I know a lot of people have problems with it, but if I think of that original Daredevil movie, I loved the way they showed the courtroom scene, it not going to plan kind of thing, the guy getting away from it, but Daredevil known that he was guilty,
and then you kick in. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
very easy to do. The only thing I would say, Heinlein J, is I agree with pretty much everything you've said. The last season of Daredevil, I would argue, the fight scenes between him and Bullseye are some of the best. I mean, that scene, that episode where they're in the newspaper office and he's hurling staplers and pens and whatever.
Oh yeah,
it's phenomenal.
Action-wise,
absolutely phenomenal. Yeah. Luke, how about yourself, mate?
Yeah, so I'm in 2 minds about this. So coming off the back of what Highland G there was saying, whether Disney like it or not, this is effectively season 4 of Daredevil. The Netflix show still exists, and you can call it Born Again all you want, and you can say that it's a new Daredevil, it's a new beginning, but you're bringing well-known actors, particularly Daredevil and the Kingpin, over from that show. So people are familiar, and those shows are still available for you to watch on their service. Yeah, so, had they have taken that all away and said, no, you can't see that anymore, this is it, slightly different story. Now, when you say that he won't be in his costume until episode 4, again, I would be okay with that had this not been a soft reboot of Daredevil season 4. If they wanted to go back to something like Smallville, where obviously Clark never had his Superman costume until much, much later, and they're starting right from the beginning there and showing his training as a young kid all the way up, and mix that in with like flashbacks and what's going on currently with him being in a courtroom, I think that would be absolutely fine, because you're still getting all that action played out by a younger actor portraying that same role at the same time. Yeah. So it does depend on what they were actually going for. Like we don't know, And then when it comes to Kevin Feige, I also have a bit mixed, because we seem to praise him so much and put him on a pedestal, but we never give him the shit. Like if he's going to be in charge of the whole of the MCU and the whole of Disney, he's got to take the rough with the smooth. And if this has happened under his watch, then it's his fault. I don't want to hear that he came in afterwards and saved the day. He was there from the beginning, and he has been there all the way through. They've let this slide. So whether it's because the writers strike and they thought, oh, that was good enough, and now we've got new writers that we can bring back, that's different. But don't hide behind it. Don't make out that he's the hero. It's the same for Bob Iger as well. A lot of these problems were caused by him before he left, and now he's held up as being the hero for taking it all back.
I think you're right, Luke. I think, we've had the MCU for a long time now, and we've had Feige kind of helming it, as it were. There is absolutely no doubt, certainly from a kind of a comic fan's perspective, that things have slipped over the last few years. And you're right, he's been there, so you can't just praise him for the brilliance at the start.
He should have bowed out after Endgame, and he would have bowed out at the peak. Let someone new come in, let someone else manage it, and whether it was good or bad afterwards, it wouldn't matter, because he done his bit.
I do think as well, creativity wise, surely you must kind of mature. You must hit your peak at some point and start to run out of either energy or ideas or whatever it may be.
Well, this is the thing as well, right? So he's always been praised as being like the uber fan of the comics. But can you imagine if just one of us was in charge? Like, we all know that people accept things differently. So I don't just want to watch his version of things. I want to see other people's version of things.
Yeah. No, good point. I'll write your Thor movie. I'll do Thor. Chris, what are you taking? What are you going to write?
I was just going to add, like, I think he's absolutely correct. I think that Kevin kind of bit off more than he can chew, but when he decided to pull back from micromanaging, the people that he let be showrunners or storytellers for the Disney Plus type of things and some of the other films that had come out since Endgame, he should have micromanaged a little bit better, because the quality of the product from storytelling and special effects seems to be rushed. And that's just been my take on Feige. Like, if he wants to pull back in and say we're doing less is more this time, like we realized what we did was a little bit too much. I'm with Luke on that one. Like, yeah, let's for all the praise he gets, like don't be afraid to backhand him a little bit. Like, you did give us some awful stuff that a lot of people didn't necessarily care for. Yeah. But absolutely, time will tell.
Yeah. And I think, Cliff's right here as well. The corporate monstrosity that is Disney, just wanting to keep pushing and pushing and churning out cash and churning out more content. It's an interesting one. Okay, guys. Deadman's just saying there, over 60 years of Daredevil history, they must be able to find some decent stories. And again, this comes back to, I guess, Luke's point and stuff we've talked about before. Stop reinventing the wheel. There is a plethora of stunning material out there. Don't make your own shit up. Just give her a story that is tried and tested and we know it's there, Anyway. Highland G, you're probably my closest to a gamer on the channel, I think, Chris, I don't know, are you a gamer?
Not the way I used to be.
No, yeah. So we've got that Mortal Kombat versus DC, which was a game a few years back, which I remember playing, was pitched but rejected by Warner Brothers as a movie. I would have loved to have seen this. I'm not sure how they would have pulled it off. Is this of interest to anybody? Is this something that you would watch, Highland J?
I think it's interesting because the thing with Mortal Kombat that I always found really interesting is whenever you play through the games, you play through a story mode for each character, and although the story has similar threads, they're separate stories. So when they ever make a movie based on the character's story, they're not really telling the entire game's overall kind of arc. So while, yes, I would love to see Marvel and DC characters have a face-off movie, and probably personally I'd rather see it animated than live action, because I just love the way the Mortal Kombat games kind of look and things. I just personally feel the way games are going with like movie-style narratives, you don't need the movie because the movie's in the game. Like, you get an hour or 2 hours worth of movie footage in the game. So all you're doing is recreating that in live action. Yeah. So unless you're going to add to it, unless you're going to do something the game didn't do, I kind of feel like in a way you're just remaking the same thing that already exists.
Do you know what? I think that's a really interesting point, because I had an experience last year. I'm saying last year, might have even been this year, when the new Star Wars game came out. I can't remember, with Cal. I can't remember what the name of the game was. But James, my mate James, asked us to do a show where we'll be talking about the game, and he told us to watch on YouTube like a cut together version of all of the cutscenes from the first game. Yeah. I think it was about an hour or something like that. And I bloody loved it. It was like watching a proper Star Wars movie that I'd just never been aware of and never seen before, But it flowed really well without you feeling you'd missed parts. And it was great. So, you're absolutely right. Those movies are there for people to watch.
Is that the newer ones with the red-headed guy from the...
so he was in Gotham. He played Jeremy, I think he's called. But it was the second game, so I watched all the cutscenes from the first game to bring us up to speed. But it was great fun.
Yeah, my girlfriend played them. She loved them.
Yeah, good games. Chris, you're a big Star Wars fan. Is that something you've done before? Have you caught up on kind of the content from those games?
Yeah, Jedi Survivor, High Republic stuff. Like, I enjoy it. But back to the Mortal Kombat, I think this would have been an interesting, like you said, animation was the only way they could have done this properly. But it could have been a season. It could have been 12 to 20 episodes. Like exactly what Highland G said, spotlighting one character from either side and their story, why they're doing this. Yeah. But yeah, it's absolutely correct. Like, it would just have to be an expansion on what the video games do, because video games have been incredibly storytelling mediums, in the last 15, 20 years. But opportunity missed. Possibly, it would have been a lot of fun.
I mean,
Especially
the
with
only thing
Mortal
I could
Kombat
think
being
of
so popular again.
is if they were to go the likes of the way that like Injustice did and do between the games.
Injustice. Yeah.
It's a, yeah. I really
Injustice
wonder if
is
it was
one
an
of my
opportunity
favourites.
lost.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you, Luke? Anything you want to add on that?
I'm a little bit indifferent to it all, to be honest. If they did do it, I could see it really working as like animation, more so than anything, or at least like a CGI show rather than live action.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not really a gamer. I don't really follow through that stuff. And even with shows like The Last of Us, for example, I never went back to see the clips from the video game. Yeah, I'm happy with what we had on the screen.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't really follow those sort of story arcs.
Yeah, and I think it's you've piqued my kind of enthusiasm there when you've mentioned Injustice. I'd far rather see an Injustice series than this. I love that storyline. I like those kind of alternate takes on heroes and villains. Where it's a bit no holds barred. So yeah, very cool. Now, this has got us excited. This is the official poster from Invincible Season 2, and it's a release date on Amazon Prime of November the 3rd. I am hyper about this. I'm a massive fan of the Invincible universe. I read all the books before the animated series, loved the animated series, desperate for a live action movie. I think this would be phenomenal. You guys, fans of Invincible? Who's read it?
So I've read the comics, but I haven't seen any of the show yet.
Oh, mate, it's tremendous. I mean, it's a slow burn. It's a bit like the comic. It takes a little while for you to kind of get into the flow of it, but it's just such a beautiful.
So
story.
I was introduced into the franchise because of The Walking Dead. I was reading The Walking Dead, and then there was advertisements for Invincible. So obviously liking what I was reading, I jumped over. So I've read, I believe, all of them. But yeah, I've never sat down to watch the show. I have it on my server, like I even have it myself to watch, but there's no excuse. It's there.
It really is worth watching.
But now that I know that the season 2's coming, perfect time.
Yeah, they have changed up some stuff because I really, really enjoy the comic, and there are some change ups in the pace and in some of the characters. So personally, I do recommend, if you haven't, read through the entire comic before you going into the show. But I do like seeing some of the sequences, just in that moving, kind of dynamic. It's just really cool to see in the same style as the comic. You don't lose that by seeing a live action thing where you're kind of imagining this actor. It feels like your comic come to life in a way. Absolutely. It's really cool.
I've probably told you guys this story before, but like you were saying, I've read all 3 volumes of the story, and I think massive hats off to Robert Kirkman for this and Walking Dead in being brave enough to end the series so you have a complete story. Do you know what I mean? It's not just going on forever. I love that. But I remember watching the cartoon with my son, who was 15 at the time, and not telling him, what was about to happen. And he's kind of, this is a bit boring, this, because the first episode does stretch things a bit. I'm sat there, just wait. And then, my God, his little face when it kicks off. Chris, you a fan of this? Sorry, mate.
Yeah, I before I begin, I really like that the animation honors Otley's artwork. I didn't think that it would. They didn't make it their own. They basically took what he his pencils, in my opinion, and how can we bring this to animation life? I thought that was really well done. Now, I haven't read all 3 volumes. I've read multiple issues here and there, key moments, but Luke, you are missing out. In my opinion, this is hands down the best television show, period, that came out during the COVID bubble. Yeah. That scene, Luke, I hope I don't spoil it too much, but when Omni-Man holds Invincible at the subway, and it's just him ripping that subway to pieces, and all the carnage and flesh and everything that happens. I don't know how anyone would let their kids watch it. That was a moment for comic book history when Omni-Man holds Invincible at that charging subway, and it just ceases to exist. We'll put it that way. I thought it was an incredible moment. My goodness, they are not afraid to do this. They're doing it. They're doing it, and now it has such touching moments. And I really feel like they've waited so long to give us this season that I can't wait. This is wonderful news. I think wonderful news that we finally have a release date, and it's just so damn good. It's just so damn good.
So
I think
Even though they
this-
jump
this-
across the timelines a little bit. And
I think this is gonna be
comics.
interesting for me is the later on stuff where like he's done like obviously in the comics he's done like Guardians of the Globe and the Brit and he's done like other kind of like spin-off bits and pieces. And obviously if you've read the comic to the end, there's a bit of a future kind of bit as well before he tails things off.
Yeah.
I would love him to expand that in the TV show, like look into the children and the next generation a bit more. Like even if it is after this, so they do like 2 or 3 seasons of like Invincible and kind of like Naruto, they do like a next generation version kind of down the line. Like I would love that.
I agree, mate. And I think, thinking about the show, it's going to be really interesting to see just how brave they are with the storylines, because we've seen in season 1 they're not afraid to show the guts and the blood and the visceral nature of the battles. And I'm not going to spoil it for people who've not read ahead, but there are some real dark scenes in the later books. Some quite explicit scenes and things as well. And I'm wondering if they'll be brave enough to actually show that on TV. It's going to be interesting. The thing with this series for me is it never stops shocking you and surprising you. And, it's just, I love it. I
mean,
I've been really surprised with that because I said they did change 1 or 2 things to make it a little bit more, I guess, PC in the sense of their character choices, races, things like that. Yeah. But they haven't held back when it comes to the action. They've just let it all be there.
Yeah.
I think that all comes down to who's creating it, right? Because AMC didn't include a lot of stuff from The Walking Dead because they thought that was too graphic. So, but then that's network television. So, it does kind of all.
Well, Amazon's got The Boys and stuff. They don't really seem to care.
No.
Yeah, and we'll talk about Gen V later on. They really don't care what they show on that show. Don't know if anybody's watched it yet, but my life. Yeah, it's got some interesting scenes. Just going to quickly jump to the chat, guys. We've got MJ Comics just jumped off his live stream. The boys have smashed 1,000 subscribers and they were doing a giveaway, so congratulations to them. They're just saying the show is amazing. Luke, you need to check it out. Don't watch it with your kids in the room, Luke. Dead Man. Thanks for the Invincible heads up. Finished volume 1, volume 2 is in the post. Brilliant. Glad you're enjoying it, mate. Dead Man messaged us the other day because I recommended he picked up the huge Tomb volumes, and he was saying you didn't brief us that they were so bloody heavy. He was sat in a coffee shop trying to read them, crushing his legs.
Yeah, I've got the deluxe hardcovers. I think that's a little bit nicer too.
Yeah, they're a nicer size, aren't they? As adaptations go, Invincible is top notch, absolutely. Roscoe, how did Atom Eve season 2 start before Invincible season 2? It didn't, mate. It was the Atom Eve was a one-off special set between them, and it's absolutely superb. You guys seen that?
Yes. I've not seen it yet, no.
Highland J, you need to go check it out. Honestly, it changes the story a little bit, but the battle at the end is just mind blowing. It's tremendous.
I mean, her character is probably one of the biggest changed up storylines in the comics.
Agreed.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's been out for about a month, maybe 6 weeks.
Yeah, it kind of dropped out of nowhere. It just appeared.
Yes, it was very quiet. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which was really interesting. Okay, guys. So, moving on. I find this really interesting. On this show, we do like to talk comics and geeky stuff, but we also like to go a little bit left field and talk about UFOs and aliens and things like that. And I couldn't help but spot this. Bigfoot has been sighted in Colorado. So,
of course he has. Where else would you be?
A couple on a steam train, who knew, were chugging along and they spotted Bigfoot sighted, like I say, in Colorado. And there he was, just having a bit of a wander around, a bit of a nap, really, a bit of a sit down and rest. Now, guys, I wouldn't bring you this news lightheartedly without proof. So, for your viewing pleasure, we've actually got the video footage that they shot whilst there. So, brace yourselves, because this is, it's indisputable. Do you know what I mean? So, here we go. Look at that. He's having a bit of a sit down there. And we'll zoom in. There he is. Proof. Conclusive proof.
Proof enough to me.
It does it for me.
I'm sold. In this world of AI technology and deep fakes, if they were gonna fake it, they'd do better than that, wouldn't they?
Exactly. I mean, look at his little face there. It's definitely a Bigfoot. Definitely a Bigfoot. You guys believe us now, then? No.
I'm sorry, everyone. That is a fake. That's actually not even Colorado. It's Canada. And that's just out back of my work with my brown uniform on. I'm just going out after lunch to have a sit down to get away from all the madness I have to deal with on a daily basis. That's actually just me. That's not Bigfoot. I'm tall and I do have big feet. But that's just me getting away from work, having a little lunch in the back. You know, someone decided to have a little bit of fun at my expense. No, that's, you know what though, like, it's a lot better than that 60s footage where the guy was just kind of walking and you know, the Simpsons made fun of it by saying, "Oh, we can see your watch." But yeah, it's I thought the one thing that went to my mind was, like, these phones come with like 4K cameras. Why did it look so grainy? And those trains in America, they don't go that quick like Euro trains.
Yeah, how come all this footage looks like it's like 240p?
Like I can zoom in on like 300 meters and it still look good, right? Like,
Chris from Off My Shelves is just spot. It's his ex-wife. There we are. We're found. Okay, guys.
What a year for UFOs and that kind of
thing. Honestly, it's bonkers. And I mean, I when I was younger, I loved all this stuff. I got the the fortnightly UFO Hunter magazines and all that kind of stuff, ghosts and all that kind of stuff. But the older you get, the more you think, come on, in this modern day, surely to God, there's got to be some more conclusive proof than that crap. Do you know what I mean? But hey ho. Luke, can I get you to lead on this little bit of exciting news? Because I know you did a video on this a little while ago. Toys R Us are reopening across the US, including airports and cruise ships. That threw us, I have to say. Toys R Us shut down and now cruise ships.
It shouldn't have thrown you, Peter, if you watched my video. I told you this was coming.
Well, cruise ships? Did you mention cruise ships?
I didn't mention cruise ships. No, that
have you been bought out or something? Or
I mean, my views on cruise ships, just to focus on the cruise ships, is that it tends to be kind of a certain age demographic that go on cruises. I'm not sure I want to hit the Toys R Us.
Nah, see, you misunderstand, right? So it's old people. It's old people who are they tend to be grandparents and they go on cruise ships and they want to bring their grandchildren back something from their holiday. So what better than having a toy shop on board where you can go shopping, and old people know Toys R Us. It's been around for years.
Plus, all us geeks are getting older, man. Like,
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I think, talking about cruise ships, slightly off topic, but I heard somewhere that it's cheaper to put the old people on a cruise than it is to put them in an old people's home. That's insane to me.
There was an article a little while ago in one of the papers about this lovely old couple who'd basically just done back-to-back cruises because it was cheaper than them actually going to stay in an old people's home.
You get fed, you've got doctors on board, everything. But no, this is great news. I will always be a Toys R Us kid. I love Toys R Us as much as I love Blockbuster Video, and I just wish that somebody would bring that back too. The nostalgia is there. I love the branding, the name, good old Jeffrey the giraffe. I love it all. So the fact that we're getting more than just the presence within Macy's or is it Macy's or Mackey's? But I'm not sure how it's pronounced.
Macy's.
Over in the States, over here in the UK, we got them in WH Smith. So my local WH Smith now has a little Toys R Us section built inside it. It's all great fun, it's all nice to see, but I want one of these proper stores in the UK as well. Put it back out over in central London, put it on Oxford Street or something. Give us a Toys R Us again.
Because all we've really got is Smiths now.
Smiths.
And don't get me wrong, I love Smiths as well. Our Toys R Us became a Smiths, so for me, I'm very lucky. It feels like I haven't lost anything because it's just rebranded, renamed, it's something else.
But yeah, growing up for me, we had Toys R Us and we had, I think it was like Big Giant or something was the other one, and there were like two competing stores.
So
Toys R Us was the nearest one.
I still got my Toys R Us gold card.
Because
that's how much I love it.
Chris, what's it like in Canada? Do you have Toys R Us still, or is it your big toys chain?
I feel like I'm the fortunate one here then, because
it still exists in Canada.
Toys R Us is alive and incredibly well here in Canada. It's in North America. Toys R Us ventured forward when the United States started the bankruptcy closings on all their stores. I'm actually about 15 minutes away from one, and when I'm done your show, I'm actually going to go film a walking tour of a Toys R Us because
All right.
it's now back in people's consciousness. So I thought, hey, why not have some
Absolutely.
interesting content with the Toys R Us that's in the next community over for me. But yeah, to me, Toys R Us is it's just one of those interesting places that seems to be almost generational at this point now. You know, that Gen Xers were the first young ones that got to go to Toys R Us, this big box, this large retailer exclusively geared towards them. And, it went through obviously changes throughout the years with focusing on, video games and expanding it, not just toys, and getting into clothing. And then I'm not sure about the European market, but Toys R Us expanded into Babies R Us, where they spotlighted a lot of cribs and little children's necessities as well, just trying to keep the store alive, at least in the United States. But it did well here in Canada, and it still is alive and well. So I think it's great to see that they're trying to kickstart their heart and fire it back up in the United States, because whenever I'm on American channels and I mention Toys R Us, they're all like, well, yeah, it's sad it's gone. And I'm like, well, hold up. It's alive and well. And there's multiple locations here in Ontario, Canada, in and around the Toronto area. But yeah, I think it's good news.
I completely agree. And I know, Luke, if you want to go and check out Luke's video on it, please do so over on Hydra Collectibles. For me, it's a nostalgia thing. I remember it so vividly. When it first came to local to me in Newcastle in the Metro Centre, it was unimaginable, the size and scale of a toy shop that big. So yeah, it was sad when it disappeared from our site. Fuzzy's just saying there he doesn't get the nostalgia for it, but what we don't have over here is the same toys, which is true, Fuzzy. I know me and Luke have both experienced frustration with Walmart exclusives and things like that are only available in the American market, so that is very frustrating at times. Blockbuster was cack. The independent video shops. Spar, that's where I used to get my videos from. Spars.
Don't get me wrong, I love the independent stores, but there's something about that tacky yellow carpet and the blue walls, and so that same shelf where I've picked up my thing, I've got my Blockbuster card there too. I love it all. I miss it so much, and I know it's such a lame thing to say. We're grown-ups now, we should get past it. But again, Blockbuster, Woolworths, Toys R Us, I just miss the old shops. Woolworths,
yeah. There's a good lesson for you guys in reading the chat before you put it live on screen. They're going to diversify and sell dildos. Thanks, Chris.
Toys are toys.
Toys are toys. Absolutely. Jack is saying nearest him was Woolworths. Yeah, Woolworths was a great store that shut down as well in the UK. Canadian Survivalist, we have one in Northern Ontario. How do you pronounce that, Chris? Ontario?
Yes, Northern Ontario. Yeah. Ontario is the province where both Ottawa and Toronto are.
Okay, good stuff. Yeah, magical place. Boom. Under one roof. This is the advert they're all singing now, aren't they? Yeah. Called Toys R Us, Toys R Us, Toys R Us. Anyway.
Oh, such nostalgia. Do you remember every Christmas? Forget the Coca-Cola advert. It was the Toys R Us advert.
Toys R Us advert.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I tell you, God, going back now, was the Argos or the Woolworths catalogue where you used to at Christmas get your felt tip and score what toys you wanted, so Santa would know what you want after. Good stuff. We spoke briefly about Lobo at the start of the show there. Jason Momoa reportedly in talks to play Lobo in James Gunn's DCU. This is hot on the announcement. Another bloody James Gunn announcement that none of the original Justice Leaguers are coming back to play the same characters in any shape or form. So Jason has been reportedly in talks to play Lobo. I'm not a massive Lobo fan, I have to say. Does this excite any of you guys?
We knew this was coming, right?
Yeah, well, he's talked about it for a long time.
I don't feel like this is new news.
Yeah, no, I think he's talked about it for a long time. But this is kind of the first. They're still doing the friggin' Toys R Us stuff. So yeah, in Von Hoot saying it's a shock to no one. Yeah, I think this has been hinted at heavily for a while. I don't know how I feel about a Lobo movie, I have to say.
I
I'm
like
not a
Lobo as a
massive Lobo
character,
fan.
but I don't see how Momoa gels with Lobo, because like Momoa's the kind of actor now that he tends to pick roles that align with things that he's got agendas on. So if he's about the environment or about certain things he wants to kind of talk about, he tends to align with those. Lobo's the kind of guy that's like gas guzzling, cigar smoking, doesn't give a flying. I don't understand how that connects with Momoa. Momoa's funny, but I just don't think his morals align. So I don't know how
Yeah.
that's going to work out.
Yeah.
I like when the whole power shift happened. Like, was he not the first one to celebrate the whole idea of the DCU by walking out of a meeting with James Gunn? Like, I thought it was kind of wrapped up even then. I thought, like,
Yeah.
well, if Cavill is out as Superman, who I thought was a great Superman, then no one's surviving. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I think I can't picture a Lobo standalone, but I like the character just because no holds barred, mouthy as hell, and not afraid of Superman. I would think this would be the perfect villain for the new Superman movie or the sequel to the Superman movie that's coming, because I'm just tired of the same regurgitation of villains when it comes to Superman. It's always got to be Luthor. It's always got to be Zod. Like,
Yeah.
give us a character that the comic book fans have history with, at least, whether you like Lobo or not. You understand that Lobo's been around since the early 80s and that he is an incredibly powerful character, is not afraid of Kryptonians, and that has histories to Krypton.
Yeah, you know what, Chris? I'm with you there. I think the first Superman film, I don't necessarily want him in. I want him teased perhaps at the end.
Yes.
But for a good Superman villain, you need a variable threat. We've done Doomsday to death. We're sick of seeing Zod. So actually Lobo would fill that nicely.
Yeah.
Or I'd love to see a Brainiac or something like that on screen.
But
yeah,
Brainiac
absolutely.
and Lobo would be perfect.
Yeah, I
Well,
couldn't
there's
see
also
him as a
space
standalone
characters,
movie.
so that could really
but
take DC in a different direction as far as like what characters they do next. Like maybe they'll go with the Lanterns and other space-related characters rather than Earth-focused characters.
Sounds good. James was hopefully going to be on the show tonight, but he's not been able to, so I'd added this for him. I just thought it was funny shits and giggles, really. Last of Us. A bakery has constructed a Last of Us clicker made purely out of bread. So that image on the side there is stood outside of their shop. I mean, I'd eat it. It looks nice. So yeah, big Last of Us fans. Chris, I don't think we've spoke to you about it. Are you a Last of Us fan? Did you watch the show?
Absolutely. I thought it was magnificent, especially the couples episode. We're just focused on the two men. I thought that was incredibly well done. Like, taking two actors and put them into a situation that they're not used to, portraying characters that we're not used to seeing them portray. I thought it was magnificent. I thought I thought the show was great from start to finish, and that was hilarious. And it was really well done. That what you just showed there. I thought The Last of Us was terrific. My only complaint was that we didn't get 10 episodes. I thought they could have gave us more, but I get they want to pace it all out and do it that way. But it was very well done.
Yeah, I agree, mate. I agree. And I know we've spoke on James's live show about it. I know a lot of you really enjoyed it. I just wanted to share this with you guys. These are two incredible images. I don't know how up to speed you guys are on action figure news, but these are both toys. These are images of the in-art Gandalf and the Hot Toys Hera. And I wanted to show them because I think they are breathtakingly good. And I would imagine most people, if you didn't tell them they were action figures, would think that they were images of the actual people themselves. And I just think it's incredible that we're living in a kind of a time and an age where we can get this level of quality in our toys, and we're action figures and stuff. You guys, I know, Luke, you're a collector of figures. I know you don't collect 1/6 scale figures necessarily,
Well,
but
I would if I could afford it, Pete.
yeah. If you could get, and I'm going to come to each of you to answer this, if you could get one toy of a favourite movie or comic series or whatever of this quality, this standard, for a reasonable price, what would it be? What would your dream figure be? Luke, will come to you first.
Yeah, so I've been quite consistent with mine. I think we've discussed this in the past. I'm a big fan of Leon the Professional, and I know
Yep.
they've done several different versions in 1/6 scale of the character. But yeah, I would love to have a highly detailed version of that character on my shelf, armed to the teeth with all these guns and everything.
Yeah.
I've seen them. I've just not been tempted to pull the trigger yet. I feel like there's better to be had.
Yeah. 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 Good point. How about you, Highland G?
For me, I'm not so into like the movie accurate characters, so it's not something that I'm maybe as focused on. But there are certain characters that I've just never had decent figures, specifically Titans characters like Wally West's Flash or Arsenal. So I'd love stuff like that to complete my little kind of set of Titans that I'm kind of building. I'm building like a post sidekicks kind of Titans team, so they're all like in their secondary kind of forms. But it's really hard to find those kind of figures. So if I could get something like Roy Harper in like a 6 scale statue, I'd be over the moon.
Yeah, that would be really cool. They've done a line of Flash 1/6 scale figures from Hot Toys, but it's all based on the last Flash movie. So it's Ezra.
Yeah, see, I don't care about that.
Yeah, I mean, as nice as the figure looks, I just kind of, because I'm a massive Flash fan. I'd love a good quality detailed Flash figure, but they've just never done a one that's outside of that individual's portrayal.
Yeah, I mean, I do have a Flash figure, but it's just fairly generic. It's like somewhere between Wally and Barry. It's not like locked in as being a Wally figure as such.
How about you, Chris?
I for one, I thought those were legit photos when you just brought them up. I thought we were going to be talking about McKellen and talking about Ahsoka's finale. Those are incredible. I have not been a statue collector. Now I have picked up or a figure collector, at least in the last 10 years. I have picked up a few Spider-Man dioramas and those type of things, but there is one Spider-Man statue that I would love to get my hands on. However, the price point, like between $800 and $1,500 US, is a little heavy for me. But it's the J. Scott Campbell statue of this particular cover with Peter and MJ sitting on the couch with the little teddy bear that's over here. And it will be mine one day. It will be mine one day.
So
you sound very much like a fellow Canadian there when he's looking at a guitar on Wayne's World. Oh yes, it will be mine.
Yes, it will be mine.
Sorry, Luke.
I actually had a chance to buy that statue and I turned it down and I regretted it ever since.
Yeah.
Like, because it was offered to me at a steal, like when they first came about and they had them in the shop, and I should have taken it when I had the chance.
Yeah, it's an incredible statue. I've seen.
They seem to just gone up in value. They haven't cooled at all.
Yeah. Just jumping back to the chat, we've got a lot of people saying great accuracy. Dr. Van Hoot wants Derek from Bad Taste. Yeah, that'll be very cool. Fuzzy, Andrew saying outstanding quality. Fuzzy is saying he would like Pamela Anderson, Baywatch, running. Yeah. Canadian survivalist. I'm working on better head modes for mass details. Yeah. Guyver. Guyver would be good. Yeah, very, very cool. Chris, I'm going to ask you to lead on this next little bit. Tell us a little bit about Comics Curing Cancer.
So Comics Curing Cancer is starting this Friday Friday morning here in North America on the Legion of Comics YouTube channel for the community hangout. But we're looking at here is the Comic Mint exclusive for Comics Curing Cancer $20 comic book, The Unnatural Order. I believe there's only 250 copies made, with the art being done, the cover art being done by artist Matt Wilson, and the letters were done by comic community YouTube member Justin Birch, who's been on a handful of shows or channels throughout his time. This is something that is almost sold out. I know that the remaining copies are at New York City Comic Con this weekend at the Comic Mint booth. If you are interested in picking up this particular comic, which is going to be pushed hard by the publisher, so much so that number ones are being distributed to comic shops for free for sale there, so that 100% of the profits being that will be sold from issue number one will go to comic shops. The publisher has so much faith that everyone is going to enjoy Unnatural Order that they're doing this, and I think that's a brilliant way to solicit a number one from a truly independent publisher. But I have my copy ordered. It's only $20 plus shipping to wherever you are, around the globe. If this is something that you're interested in, this is a great way to support comics curing cancer, especially if you're on a budget like myself. But just to extend on this, there's going to be a multitude of channels that are going to be participating Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. There is going to be a couple preview shows for all the comic books and original art and other items that are going to be available for either the prize wheel or for auctions, that type of thing. Wednesday night on my own channel, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in North America. Rob will be joining me on my channel to show some of the incredible stuff that he has gathered. I'm hoping that DJ Lynx and Mark from Legion of Comics will be able to stop by and show some of the stuff that they gathered as well. Thursday on Nick's Kicks and Comics, there's going to be some more items that will be previewed going into this weekend, which is only now 6 days away if you want to look at it that way. Yeah. It's going to be a big thing. I know there's an incredible amount of channels that's going to be involved in the scheduling. Just make sure that you hit the Linktree website to find out where and when it's going to be spotlighted. If there's certain programs that you enjoy, I know next Saturday, Only Slabs is going to be walking hand in hand with the event itself, as Gene from Shortboxed will be the guest. And there's going to be a special item available there, and whatever it garners, this mystery box, I think it might be whatever it garners for auction, or however they're going to be spotlighting it, that short box will match those funds towards the goal of 25,000 US. I believe they're now just a few shekels under 10,000 already.
Tremendous.
So like the goal is within sight. So I'm hoping that this weekend that the proceeds will be gathered for the goal, and then hopefully go beyond. And I know that there's some side bets with certain characters in the comic community that are going to be watching closely, as if goals are met, certain body parts will be shaved, and if it goes to 35,000 US, I believe there's going to be a tramp stamp involved of the logo on someone. Cool. So I'll let you all investigate cool. Or who those people are by making sure you're tuning in to Comics Curing Cancer. But thank you for that, Pete. I appreciate it.
No problem at all. It's an incredible thing to do. So yeah, please do go check that out. There's going to be a massive auction as well, and some of the items in that are obscenely good. So please do check that out. The comic book, Dr. Von Hoot's saying there's one copy left for pre-order. Please, aside from those that are at NYCC, if you want a copy, please do try and get a copy from DJ Lynx's site. However, I have picked up 6 copies which are on the way to us. And what we're going to be doing is I'm going to keep one for myself, obviously. I've got a few to give out. The rest of them will go into my comic book box to hand away as giveaways to people, and we'll give those away to channel viewers. So please do go check it out, please. Cliff is just saying, I've offered to get a live butt waxing at 45 grand, but no one seems interested. I mean, I think we'll all probably chuck a $5 in, Cliff. We'll have a go at that.
Cliff, you can do it on my channel if you want, man. I'm willing to take the hit on my channel if we hit 45K. You can come on and do a live waxing right there.
Okay, chaps. Just moving on. Let's have a look-see. So, what have we been reading? Just going to quickly touch on some books that some of them may have been reading. I wanted to mention this. I mentioned this last night on the show I did with Efren. This is The Weeping Blade. This is by a UK artist, Kev, who's a tremendous guy. He guests on some of my art shows. He's self-published, and I always get the name wrong, a book called The Last Einherjar, I think that's how you pronounce it, which is a Viking-based book, which is amazing. And he's done this short book called The Weeping Blade, which is this, and it's a samurai story. It's absolutely beautiful. It's a really emotional story about basically an individual whose village is slaughtered, and she seeks revenge. I'll not spoil the rest of it. It's a great little story. I've picked up 25 copies of this. These are going So basically, anytime we do a giveaway on the channel, you'll get a copy of this, and you'll get a set of the cards and 5 comic books. And I think that's a nice ideal time to do a bit of a giveaway. So, Chris, you're a nice Canadian, and you feature on Rob's channel where you give away comics randomly. On our channel, we're going to make people work for it. Right, we're not as nice, so we're going to give people a little bit of a lead into how we're going to give these away. We've done some of these before, and they're always a bit of fun. So we're going to start off with a little game for you guys. And in the chat, please do chip in if you think you know them, but you guys have got to shout them out. So I'm going to show you the first one and explain it through, and it's a bit like dingbats. All right, so you'll get an image like this, and you've got to work out. Who said that?
Me.
Yeah, so you've got to work out what character it is. These are all Marvel characters. So that is Black Widow, yeah? So it's the first person to shout them out wins. And then what we'll do is, at the end, we'll put a one on, and we'll see if the chat gets it. Whoever gets it first in the chat wins 5 comics, plus the Wheaton Blade, plus a set of cards. All right? Okay, we'll start you off gently. And we'll see how it goes. So again, you can stick your answers in the chat if you want, but you guys just shout out as soon as you've got an answer. You ready?
Yep.
Easy.
Red mask.
Red Skull.
Red Skull.
Red Skull, yeah. Chris, I think you were first in there. Right, 1 to Chris, well done. Right, next, we're ready. This is a harder one.
Rock.
Now, it can be anything from the MCU or Marvel, not necessarily a character. 24 people watching. Anybody got any ideas what these are?
Rock Soldier.
Say what you see.
Rock Arc, Stone Arc.
Stone Soul.
Oh, actually, I've put that in reverse. Yeah, it's the Soul Stone. Yeah, it's the Soul Stone. Oh, Soul Stone. I've put it in reverse. Yeah, Chris is saying Soul Stone. Yeah, yeah. Okay, next. This is a harder one.
Peter Parker.
Peter Parker.
Yes, Chris is straight there as well. Not far off, Luke. Chris is winning so far, mind. Next.
Iron Fist.
Iron Fist.
Iron Fist, Chris as well. Oh, Chris, you're too good at this, mate. Next.
Captain Marvel.
Yes, well done, Highland G. Captain Marvel. I like that one. And okay, so that's the idea, guys. All right. So the next one we're going to put up is for the people in the chat. We've got 25 people watching. If you can get it, please do quickly jump in and stick what you think it is in the chat. The first person on my screen will win some comic books. So, nice, straightforward one for you. What's that? Or who is that? Quite a clever one. See if anybody can get it.
Everyone's typing so fast, they're making spelling mistakes.
A little bit of a delay.
We'll take spell mistakes. Don't worry, guys. I don't mind telling you. And
wow, what a jump.
Who've we got? Oh, God, what loads come in there. Canadian Survivalist. That's on my screen. Is that the same for you guys?
That's the same for me, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well done, Canadian Survivalist. You have won yourself a set of cards and a copy of the Wheaton Blade #1. And we shall send you some comics. So, let's just move them out of the way. I've got my long box of comics here. I'm just shamelessly ripping this from Rob's show. So, Chris, you know how this works. You can do it. Tell us when to stop. We'll pick 5 comics.
You're going for 5?
Yeah.
And stop now. And the 2 books, your fingers split.
2 books, my fingers split. Okay.
We'll do it again. And now, those 2 books, your fingers split.
Ooh, nice.
And say second from the front.
Second from the front.
Oh no, I wanted that one.
Okay, so Canadian Survivalist, if you drop me your address on Instagram and we shall send these off to you. So you have got, I think this is a convention exclusive, limited edition, Batman with a nice image of Damian Wayne on the front there. I think, oh, this is another variant. Spider-Man book.
Oh, yes.
Can't remember who that's by. That's quite a nice one. Is it Gleason?
Patrick Gleason.
Yeah, Patrick Gleason. Yeah, nice. We've got a bit of old school Daredevil.
What's
that's a
that
nice
doing
one.
in there? You should,
That's a nice one.
you should be giving away Frank Miller stuff.
And we've got a Dark Hawk #1, not the original Dark Hawk #1, but Dark Hawk
Who
#1.
wants it then? If it's not the original.
Exactly. And we've got some more Gleason. We've got a Carnage, Black, White, and Bloody, I think it is. So there we are. So, Canadian Survivalist, if you drop us a line, please, on Instagram, we'll send these your way. We'll be giving away another set of comics before the end of the night, so please stick around for that. Just write on this, Canadian. Marvellous. Well done. Okie dokie, chaps. So, moving on. I just wanted to touch on this. I talked about this briefly on a show I did last night. This was a book that is self-published under the Australian publishing company called Comics X or ComX. This is the first book written by a young lad called Max with art by Ben Worrell. It's called Stellar Lands. He sent us this as a PDF just to have a bit of read of, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a really, really good story. So this is about an invasion of basically a whole host of different alien races, and this young lady is tasked with flying to a distant planet to basically try and make sure that a facility is cleared before anybody else kind of gets any of the information that's there. The artwork is absolutely stunning. I think it's amazing for a self-published comic. So yeah, I really enjoyed the story. It's an interesting yarn. The character's got us intrigued because she's got a number of personal issues as well. So I really would recommend you picking this up if you get the opportunity. You can get it from the comx.shop over in Australia. So please consider checking that out. Okay, guys, you guys been reading anything you want to mention? Anybody been reading anything lately? No
So I mean, I've been
problem.
reading through Robin. It's the main sort of Chuck Dixon stuff.
Oh,
I
the
can
Chuck
go back
Dixon.
back through that. It's the Tim Drake kind of origins. So it's been quite enjoyable. I would say that there's a little bit missing from here. You don't get the absolute introduction of when Tim figures out who Batman is. That must be in one of the Batman arcs somewhere.
Yeah.
But the bit I've just got to is where they're just introducing Spoiler and Cluemaster, and that's that kind of arc just now. So yeah, I'm just really enjoying some old school DC.
Yeah, I love that original run, and he's probably one of my favourite Robins. I think actually, outside of Nightwing, he's my favourite. But yeah, I do like that. Anybody else?
I've been
What you
enjoying.
been-
I know this particular issue is a little bit older.
Yeah.
But this is issue 4 from Void Rivals. I've really been enjoying this, and the fact that you can see where it ties into Transformers #1. But this particular issue, if you look in the letter section, you'll see my name. They published my letter.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't
So
realise
yes,
that, Chris.
there's 4 pages of letters, and mine splits #2 and page and page 3. So yeah, this is now my all-time favorite comic book right here.
Yeah. Are you going to start signing copies for people and things like that?
Well,
now,
if
now you're
if you guys
published.
cross the pond, I'll
Yeah.
have copies already signed, readily available for you. This was fantastic.
Superb.
I wasn't sure if I thought Daniel Warren Johnson's art style would lend to Transformers, but hot damn, he did it. This was incredible, and I always thought Starscream was a great villain until I read this. My God, this is Starscream's book as far as I'm concerned. He showed that he is every bit the terrorist that I dreamt that he ever could be. This was, I know you guys probably already talked about it, but I haven't been on your show in a bit. But this was fantastic. I can't wait for issue 2.
I have to be honest, I've read Do a Power Bomb, which I thoroughly enjoyed. But Daniel Warren Johnson was a little bit out. I didn't really know much about his work. Picked up that, and I've become absolutely obsessed with him. So I went back and bought a whole load of his back catalogue, Murder Falcon, things like that, Extremity, I think it's called, another one. And I think I'm up to about 18 copies of Transformers 1. It's become a bit of a problem, really.
Yeah. And Do a Powerbomb was arguably the best read of last year. This
Love the
was
cover on
actually
that.
this was actually my hot pick going into New Comic Book Day. I thought it was just such a fun issue. dealing with World War II again and Captain America and the Howling Commandos over there in Europe, dealing with Nazi cultists, and that Captain America decides to like take on everything as a werewolf. I thought, because I enjoyed DC versus vampires so much, that hopefully this, what if kind of story could lend itself to the Marvel universe. And this was really, really well done. If you guys haven't picked it up, if you want just a fun, out there kind of book that lends to the season that we're getting into, I recommend Catwolf and the Howling Commandos. It's a no-brainer type of read, but there's a lot of good storytelling to go in with some excellent action just with issue number 1. It to me, it clicked on all those cylinders that I wanted without the campiness that I kind of expected. I thought this was a real fun read.
I'm really pleased you've said that, because I was talking about that in the show last night, and that's the one that the covers have absolutely sold me. So I was looking at the advanced covers for issues 2, 3 and whatnot. That painted style looks amazing. And I think I said something along the lines of, I'm not sure if it's a good read or not. And Von Hoot jumped in, and he must have watched your video recently and said, oh, Chris says it's really good. So I've gone back and I've ordered them to read. But yeah, that artwork is just phenomenal. It looks amazing. Amazing. Yeah. Good stuff. Luke, how about yourself? Have you been reading anything, mate?
So mine kind of falls into the next section, because I've been buying it and reading it.
Okay.
So
well, do you want to? You can start off then with what you've been buying.
So I already mentioned it a couple of weeks ago. It's Usagi Yojimbo, and I've just been all in. I was talking to Highland G before we got started live. Yeah, I fully intended for this to just be a read. I was going to buy the omnibus and just read through it. But then I wanted the singles, so I started collecting all the single issues. So I've gone through the Critters stuff. I've gone through the Fanographics things. Obviously, the stuff older than that is a bit harder to get hold of. But yeah, I'm all in with this, and I can see another collection forming.
Oh,
I don't think I'm gonna stop.
The covers are just so nice, though. Like, look at them. Like,
they're beautiful. They're so. And that's just the original covers by the actual guy, let alone all the variants that are coming out.
And that's what's so great about it as well. It's the art that's in the comic. It's not somebody else.
Yeah, Sakai is so good.
So I was very happy. I got an issue number 1 9.2 for like pennies. And I was very happy. It's all slabbed up, and I just put it straight into the spinner rack. Pride and joy. I again, like I said a few weeks ago, I only knew this character from the crossovers with the Turtles, and I never thought much of him outside of that. But I am so glad that I've actually found him now, because it's a great character and a great set of stories. And you can literally pick it up anywhere.
So I did a show a while ago. I think it was with Chris, actually. It was on another channel, and he recommended, actually it might have been with you, ING, as well, and you guys recommended some Usagi books to read. So I went and bought the volume that was recommended, and it's sat on my read shelf. I've not managed to get into it yet, but I keep hearing everybody talk about it.
I was mentioning the Fantagraphic stuff, and Chris said you could just start with the Dark Horse Saga one. So I think that's what you ended up going with.
I think I got the Saga one.
I still personally feel the Fantagraphics is the best kind of like foundation point of the overall saga, but you can read any of the arcs somewhat individually, as long as you're willing to ignore that you might not know all the context completely. But for me, if you read Fantagraphics through sort of Saga Volume 4, like that kind of arc, it's just perfect. After that, there's little bits of dips, but like in the grand scheme of Usagi, it's still amazing. It's just that it isn't like perfect, maybe beyond that kind of point.
I'll have to get into it.
So the arcs 1 through 4 of the Dark Horse stuff, all about like building up to his son and stuff, like it's so heartbreaking. Like,
are you a fan of it? Sorry, Luke, are you a fan of it, Chris? Are you? Have you read it?
Yeah, I read it a lot when I was considerably younger. But I know this past Wednesday that there is a spec book that dropped with Usagi, with another child that just came out. So I know some people were specking on it. But yeah, I do have a number of issues from the old, how do we want to pronounce this, Almido days? But Luke, like, save up your pennies, man, because
do you know what? The thing is I can't even find one yet.
Yeah.
I mean, he's already
Oh,
picking up
okay.
the Critters issues, so he's already just halfway down that trip.
Okay. Yeah. That's
I've managed that. It's
it's
the
a rabbit
Albedo
hole
one.
that runs deep.
I'll see what you did there, Chris.
Yeah,
Well
yeah.
done. Yeah.
But I'm excited because NECA have been announcing more of the toys. Obviously, they released
Right.
him as part of the Turtles animated toy line, and we've seen others listed in San Diego and New York Comic Cons, etc. So
Yeah.
if those do well, I can see them doing all the other members as well, and I can see me buying all of those.
Yeah, because he's got his own like licensed ones now that are done outside of the Turtles, and then there's the ones that tied into the Turtles as well. I find the Turtle one's quite weird though, because they made Usagi look like super different to how he actually looks in the comics to fit in with the Turtles.
Yeah.
I'll get into it. I'll have to get into it. Okay, guys, just want to show you a few things that I've picked up recently. Start off with this. I want to make myself big. Let's look. There we are. So I didn't buy this, but this is a pop. This is a Venomized X23. I'm not a massive pop fan, I have to say, but this is special because my daughter bought this for us off her own back without it being my birthday or Christmas or anything like that. She just rang us and said, Dad, I've picked this up because I think it looks cool. So that was incredibly touching. So over the moon to have that. And that will be the first pop in my collection. I went to Forbidden Planet, which is a big retailer of comic books, not the best reputation, but they had a sale on. So I picked up a whole host of books, some of which I've read, some I haven't, but these were all £2 each. So I don't know what that works to in Canadian dollars, Chris, but it's not a lot of money. But we got Super Crooks by Mark Millar, hardback, for £2. Superior by Mark Millar for £2.
Any hardback book for £2 is well worth it.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Kingsman, never read the original tale of this. I've seen the movie, but I've never read Kingsman. So that's a softback. Nemesis as well for £2.
Start to say a theme
Oh,
here.
now we're talking.
Yeah. So I picked all those up. I picked up a load more, but I'll show those in a future video. I don't want to bore you with loads of them. But yeah, great. So I'll recommend if anybody's in the vicinity of a Forbidden Planet, go check out their sales section because there's some great stuff at the moment.
They also have a sale section on the website where they sell them at about a $5 shipped as well. A lot of their hardcovers.
Which is very cool.
It's a hell of a price because £2 is $3.30 Canadian. So yeah, I can get
Not
on board
bad.
with that.
Yeah, not bad for a hardback book. Any of you guys got anything you want to show off?
Yeah, so I have something I want to show off just going to come in today. It's been something that I've been holding off for a while, and it is smaller than I would like it to be, but it's my favourite character from the MCU in his full movie pose.
Oh, mate.
And this is the Iron Studios 1/10 scale Winter Soldier from the Infinity War, and it has the full silver arm as it should be, none of that modern gold and black stuff. And he just looks awesome. Like if you see his eyes, I don't know if I can get to focus on his eyes, but it looks so detailed. It's like he's staring you down.
That's tremendous.
It looks very cool.
So yeah, it's small enough that I can put it on a shelf next to my comics as well. It doesn't need its own kind of dedicated space. But yeah,
what's it made out of?
So I believe it's cast out of some sort of clay or something like that, and then kind of painted. It's two sections, so the base comes off, and it's like the tarmac and everything.
Yeah. That's lovely, mate.
But yeah, it's Iron Studios. It wasn't one of the sort of cheaper ones to buy, so I think it was about 150, 160. It's not, a cheaper, smaller figure, but it's just so nice. And I've been waiting so long for a proper silver arm Winter Soldier. So yeah,
the figure looks absolutely amazing. But I always wondered why they always have the pegs attached to the actual figure and not sticking out the base. Because at least then you could take him off and put him somewhere else.
Place him somewhere else. Yeah.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
I didn't clock that, Luke. Yeah.
Well, what some people
That's
have done, because I've kind of got into 3D printing and stuff, is if you did buy 2 or 3 that you liked, you could always print a custom base that can put all of them in together or something.
Very cool. Very cool. Anybody got anything else I want to show off? No. Okay. Nope. Right then, chaps. So, just before we move on, Shap, nice to see you, Shap. So Highland as the Winter Soldier.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, that would be cool. Okay, guys, let's talk a little bit about what we've been watching recently. Not that much to talk about today, but if you guys have got anything you want to chip in, please do let us know. I wanted to mention this. This is the Continental from the world of John Wick. You guys probably know I'm a big fan of the John Wick movie franchise. This is a 3-part series over on Apple. I'm saying 3 parts, but each part is about an hour and a half long, so it's like 3 individual movies. I've heard mixed things about this. I went into it with an open mind, and I have to say I absolutely bloody loved it. I thought it was superb. I thought the action in it was tremendous. The third one is, just mad action all the way through. Some great fight scenes, some superb characters, odd characters and things like that. And I have to say, Mel Gibson is just brilliant in it. He's a crazy old man. Do you know what I mean? And I don't know if that's the character or if that's him, but he's got some incredible lines in it which are just hilarious. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. Any of you guys caught up on this?
I'm not up to date now.
No.
I didn't even know it was out yet. Like, I knew it was coming, but I didn't know it was out.
Yeah.
I watched about an hour of the first episode. The one thing I really enjoyed is that the assassins that are in this, it's not just John Wick that double taps, that does the two in the chest and one in the forehead. They're all doing it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that found themselves airborne around that hotel that I found pretty interesting. Yeah, the gratuitous violence is carried over from the John Wick films into this. Yeah, I thought the overall landscape of trying to capture the late 70s was very well done when it comes to this, especially the fact that when I think of New York in the 70s, I think of a dirty, like almost of a barren, not wasteland, but just barren, dirty area. And I think they captured it well with this.
I completely agree, Chris. And I think, I don't think the series will be for everybody, and it's a long slog to watch 3 1.5 hour shows. If you just fancy an action movie, you can probably go into the third part without knowing the full backstory, because it's basically an assault on the Continental, and it's got John Wick. That was a different film I watched. It's got John Wick level of action all the way through it, and it's very well done. So it's worth watching. Fuzzy is just saying there it's really good. I enjoyed it. Would happily watch more from the universe. Yeah, me too, mate. I would
What
enjoy
platform
more.
did you say it was on?
It's on Apple. No, sorry, not Apple. Amazon.
Prime.
Amazon Prime.
Amazon.
Yeah. Very cool. Highland G, you wanted to talk about this. This one's passed me by. I don't know what this is.
Yeah, so I only actually noticed it recently. I don't tend to keep all the different streaming programs on my computer just because I find that it's almost too much to kind of have. So Apple's one of the main ones I have on my Mac just because it's a Mac, so it's there anyway. But yes, I checked this out just a few days ago, and from what I saw from the picture and the trailer, I didn't really get it, to be honest. It was like, oh, this guy's going to go on a bit of an adventure, try to discover things, and he's going through New York City. And I got kind of like darker vibes, but didn't really know what was kind of going on. I hadn't watched any full trailers or anything, so I just watched it to kind of see what it kind of was. Yeah. And it's this interesting mix of a sort of horror story where you've got this generational kind of thing going on, where there was like a couple that got together, had a kid, and then their kid kind of gets together, has couples. You've got that kind of generation kind of going on, but there's something weird happening in their kind of family that ties back to some sort of deal made with somebody or something at some kind of point. And we get these horror elements just kind of like trickled in the first kind of couple of episodes. And then as it goes on, they basically have this sort of gaslighting thing going on where one member of the partnership can see and react to things that the other one's not seeing, and they start thinking they're kind of crazy. But it turns out that there basically are fable elements to this world, and you basically got this grim fairy tales element going on along in the background. And it just twists and turns as the story goes. So you don't get an absolute answer by the end of the 8 episodes of the season. It does need to continue beyond this, but it just had me like following it to the letter as it was going. You have to watch it. You can't just like lightly not care. But I like things that make you think or try and figure them out, and especially if they then twist and go a little bit of a different direction. So other than the last episode that threw me quite a bit, to be honest, I'm just going to put that out there. But 1 to 7, I really enjoyed, like just the twists and turns.
What's this on, Highland J?
It's on Apple.
Okay,
and
I'll have to check that. That sounds
total.
Interesting. Luke, that sounds like the kind of thing that you would normally enjoy.
It does, yeah. So the name I found interesting because like that's normally associated with like a witchcrafty type thing.
Yeah.
There's
So
elements.
I'm
I don't want to get too much into.
So I
Yeah.
like that you haven't. I like that you haven't said too much because you've
Yeah.
captivated me. So I am gonna check this out. I'm gonna add it to my. I hate when I say add it to the list because sometimes it takes me ages to get there.
Yeah,
But I
yeah.
do want to. I'm intrigued. I want to see something of it.
Sounds interesting. Chris, you not seen this one?
No, I wasn't even aware that it existed, but I am familiar with the actor that's pictured right here. So, and yeah, it
Sounds interesting.
Highland sold me on it. I think
Yeah.
I may go down this wormhole. Yeah, it
we'll
looks
check that
very. It sounds like it's incredibly interesting.
Yeah.
It's good fun as long as you've got the time to properly watch it and
Yeah,
not just like in passing. Yeah.
Yeah. You got to invest some time in it. Oh, hang on. Sorry, didn't spot. We've got a little face at the bottom there, James T. Keegan.
Ayo, what's up?
Ayo. Are you all right, mate? Thank you for
Good,
joining.
man. Sorry, I'm late. What's going
No
on?
problem.
Was
at
he
all.
just patiently waiting?
For like
I don't know. I didn't spot you.
7-8 minutes or something. Or something like that.
Why
I
didn't you just let yourself in?
I didn't want to jump in mid topic or mid conversation. You know.
Peter got you a key cut for the house and
I
everything.
know you've got a key cut. You've got your own. Never mind. Nice to see you, mate. Okay. I wanted. Is anybody watching Gen V?
Not
Sweet
yet.
baby Jesus. This.
I
this
don't know
is-
why. I love The Boys so much, but I'm just not up
I
into it
think
yet,
this is
like-
better than The Boys.
Yeah, a lot of people are
I
saying
mean, I
that.
am a massive fan of The Boys. Love it. Love it. This series is just hitting every note for me. James, you'll have to try and catch up because next week's episode we've got Jensen Ackles coming in.
Oh, yes, please.
Soldier Boy's in it.
Yeah.
I love the teen drama element to it. The powers are inventive and interesting. The gratuitousness of it is exactly there. It's graphically violent, which is great, but it's also there's some really interesting sexual scenes in it as well. I just love it. The latest episode has one of the best fights I've seen on TV in years, and I'm not going to spoil it, but the fight is all Sesame Street puppets. Ripping heads off and
that sounds
pulling
amazing.
spines out of the puppets and things, and it is amazing.
How are
I'm
the
loving
new
it.
characters in it? Like,
I love them. They're great. They're all. It's just really engaging. I mean, I've read all the Boys series, and they introduced Tech Knight into this last episode. Who has. I'm not going to spoil it for people because you'll find out for yourselves. But he's a really interesting character. Chris, you've been watching it. Are you up to date with it? Have you been?
Yeah. Well, the cool thing about The Boys and Gen V that it's filmed maybe an hour away from where I am. So
Oh wow.
so there's a lot of people that take stills and they put it on different parts of the internet and stuff. But this one was actually a little bit more of a quieter filming, whereas The Boys, which is filmed in Toronto and some of the suburbs around it, that's bigger news when that's happening, which it's actually happening right now. But the one thing I can compare this to is Game of Thrones. Do not get attached to any characters because things happen in this show, and it happens really quick and violent. But yeah, now this show has that element of camp that I talked about earlier. But it works, it works in that Boys type of saga where, it's going to be a little campy here, but it's going to tie into it and it's going to work. And that whole girl that can really shrink down to, the Ant-Man type of character that she shrinks down. And that's just one of those moments like, I'm glad this is not a normal television because that cannot work whatsoever. But it's hilarious, it's gratuitous, but it's good storytelling. Like I said, it does have that campy quality to it, but it works. And I often wondered when Marvel Comics did Strange Academy and DC followed up with Titans Academy, who was going to be the first property to bring that type of high school or college or university level type of institute to television first. And I never would have guessed The Boys would have been first, but they did it. And that's what I really took away from where we are now, is that they beat Marvel and DC to the punch, but they did it with that Boys flavor. And it's really well done. It's like the young actors and actresses they have in this are putting their heart and soul into it. Like, they don't care that it seems to be like, even if their character is alive for 10 minutes of screen time, or if they're one of the normal reoccurring characters, they give it their all, and it's really well done that way.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I also think, for all it's a superhero, and it is gross at times and all that kind of stuff, it's also covering some real hard subject matter, like abuse and things like that, and self-harm and mental health. All that kind of stuff gets touched on a lot in this, in a very clever way, I think. So yeah, I'm thoroughly enjoying it. It's
How many episodes so far is there?
I think the next one's episode 5, maybe.
Right. Jesus. Okay.
Yeah.
I need to.
about
Yeah,
5.
I'll jump in
Yeah.
there. How many total is it going to be? Do you know?
Oh, I'm not sure, mate. I don't know. It feels like we're starting to build to an end now, I have to say,
Okay,
in terms
right,
of the
yeah.
storytelling. So I
6 to
can't
8,
imagine 6 to 8, I would have thought. A couple of people in the chat saying they've been enjoying it, really enjoying Gen V. Chris is saying he's surprised at how quiet everyone's been about it. Absolutely, mate, I agree. It's kind of, because normally, you know what I'm like. Normally on my channel, we would have been doing a show about this in particular, but it just kind of went under the radar, really. Sean is saying it's well worth a watch. Yeah, I'm enjoying it, mate. I think it's good. It's good fun, and there are some scenes in it I'm desperate to talk about, but obviously I don't want to spoil it, so you need to watch it. So next time we're gonna have a talk about what you might use.
Do I need to have
shrinking women
seen
for.
all of the boys to watch the Gen V stuff, or
Absolutely
can I just jump
not.
in?
No, you can jump straight in, mate. You can jump straight in. Yeah. Don't watch it when your kids or your mum or your wife are around.
No, that's okay.
Yeah. I just wanted to briefly mention this because we already touched on this last week, but we've had a trailer for Werewolf by Night in colour. Now, I bitched on about this last week, I think it was, saying that I didn't think they should do it and all the rest of it. I'm all in now.
Of course you are.
It's an option. It's just an extra thing. I don't know why
the trailer got us, as has the movie poster, because it's not being done in colour by today's standards. It's that grainy kind of, it looked phenomenal. Yeah. So I will watch this. I'll give it another go. I'm quite excited by it. I wish we were getting some new content still, but this'll.
So have they said whether or not this is going to just be put up alongside the original, or if it's going to replace it?
No, it's not.
No, it's
that
not
was,
replacing.
That was never in doubt, Luke. Like, they were never. That was never under discussion. To
You say it's never in doubt. We're talking
But it's
Disney.
you
don't know what they're going to do. People thought Willow was still going to be here to watch, and look at that.
Yeah.
It was a
They've never
stylistic
said they're gonna
decision
get
to
rid of
make it black and white. Like, this is more 70s. I think they're going for like
It's a
kinda
grindhouse
look to it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Ooh, not seen that one. Gargoyle of Gotham trailer. Not seen that. That's interesting. So yeah, I'll be watching this. It'll be interesting to see what people think of it. Right, let's do another giveaway, guys. So in the chat, if you've already seen them before, you'll know what we're going to do. We're going to put an image up, and basically the guys in the chat have got to guess what the image is, and we'll send them some free comics. So let's crack straight on with a nice easy one. Like this one. This isn't necessarily a character, so I'll give you a bit of a hint. Well, it is a character, I guess. It is a character. It's going to lead into our next topic as well. Any of you guys think you might know what this is? Oh, Canadian Survivalist is straight there again
that's so stupid.
with Radioactive Spider.
No
It is,
around.
of course, the Radioactive Spider. So, yeah, well done, Canadian Survivalist. You'll get some more comics. Now,
At least
I'll not...
save on postage.
Yeah, I'll not send you another copy of Weeping Blade if you don't mind, but I will send you 2 packets of cards, and I'll give you an extra comic out the box to save on that one. James, you're just here then, so do you want to tell us when to stop, and we'll get some comics out?
Yep. All right. Stop now. So the two that your fingers were pulled apart.
Okay, and
Right,
hang on, and again.
1 pull now,
Okay,
and then the one at the very back.
the very back of the box.
Yeah,
No, I wanted that one too.
and 2 in front of that one you just pulled.
Two in front of the
So
back.
yeah.
one.
So what was third from the back?
Okay. Right. So we have got. Let's have a look. See. Hang on. Just make myself big. Highland G. So coming with your other books, mate. You've got this. This is The Chameleon Conspiracy Part 1. Amazing Spider-Man. I've not read that one. Nice cover. Silver Coin number 5. I love Silver Coin. That ended.
Never
It's
heard
a
of it.
great series. That's
I'll have to
superb.
check it out.
It's that Avengers of the Wasteland number 1. Oh, I said we'll get another comic as well, didn't we? So we'll have to get him another pull. Champions. That's a variant. Local comic shop day variant edition of Champions number 1. And that. Ooh, Shadecraft Part 1. This is a nice series as well.
Yeah.
That's a very cool book. Right, need one more. James.
Smack bang in the middle.
Smack bang in the middle. Okay. I don't know what that is. That's Carnage and... don't know who that is.
Gwenum.
Wenham.
Gwenham.
That's it.
Carnage and Gwenham. There we are. Excellent. So, well done. I'll stick
Nice
them up.
homage to 361.
Yeah. Congratulations, Canadian Survivalist. We'll send those through to you. Like I say, just drop us a line on Instagram and we'll get them sent. Okie dokie. Right, chaps. That leads on to a topic to end the show on, which is Spider-Man. The reason I've asked you to talk about Spider-Man a little bit is because I'm kind of getting a newfound enthusiasm for the character. So I've crapped on Amazing Spider-Man comic for a little while now. I thought it's been pretty dire for a while, but I've really enjoyed the last few issues where he's been injected. It makes no bloody sense, but he's been injected with the Green Goblin's evilness and sins, and he's been hunting Kraven. I've found that really, really cool, so I've enjoyed that. And I'm extremely excited to see we've got good old Spidey back in Doc Ock Spider-Man. So that's got us really excited. So I thought we'd talk a little Spider-Man. I'm going to come to you all individually. I want to start off by knowing what your favourite Spider-Man tale is. So which comic is it, or which series of Spider-Man, couple of issues, whatever it may be, is one of your favourite tales, and why? We'll start with you, Luke, because I know you're a big Spider-Man fan. So what storyline is your favourite, mate?
100% without skipping a beat, Craven's Last Hunt.
Yeah. And why is that?
It's just incredible. Like, for anyone who hasn't read it, it is just so amazing to go into the psyche of a character. And to this day, I have still made the claim that they should have left Craven gone at the end of it. You know, it's not... I feel like some stories need an end and some characters need to bow out, and I feel like you're never going to get that opportunity again. Like that, they did it, they then retconned it and changed it, and now that's gone forever. You're never going to get that back. But as a psychological piece of storytelling, it's just superb. It is without doubt amazing. The not to jump on anyone else's thing, Superior Spider-Man came a little bit close. But look, James shaking his head. I'm going to stay quiet now. I'll let him talk.
Yeah, I think Craven's Last Hunt is one of the best stories out there. I mean, I've thoroughly enjoyed it. And I think that's maybe why I'm enjoying this current couple of issues of Spider-Man, because it feels quite dark and gritty. I'm absolutely with you, mind. They should have left Craven dead. And to the point where I'm not a regular Spider-Man reader like some of you guys are. But I was completely confused reading this book as to who Craven was, because I know he was his son came around for a while.
And then he was a clone of himself.
Then he was a
and then he was
clone.
like, oh.
So I don't know if this is the real Craven, a clone of Craven, the son of Craven. I don't know who the hell it is, but he looks like Craven. So, yeah, it's been quite fun. Okay, James Keegan, how about yourself, sir?
Yeah, Superior Spider-Man. I absolutely adore it. I love just the... It lets you know more about both kind of characters, about both Peter and Doc Ock, and it presents a lot of really interesting ideas about like what it means to be Spider-Man and what being a good Spider-Man is, and like seeing Doc Ock kind of embrace that, like he actively wants to be a good one. I just think it's incredible story, and just I think really brave to do like that in the mainline Spider-Man series, to effectively. Everyone knew he was coming back, but wasn't it like 2 years or something?
Yeah, it was
Almost,
2 years, and
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was standing in line while Dan Slott was telling a 5-year-old kid, "No, he's gone forever. He's dead."
Love that. That's great. Yeah. So ballsy and just fantastic story.
You know what, James? So as much as I love Craven's Last Hunt, I think the most fun I've had with a Spider-Man tale is that I loved the costume design is stunning, and I just love the balls to the wall nature of it all. It's tremendous.
I know that they would never have done it, and I know Peter Parker would always have to come back, but I would have been happy if that just continued being Dr. Rock in Spider-Man's body, and he just became, took on the moniker. He was now Peter Parker. That was it. I would be okay with that. It's a bit like how people are saying, "Oh, I'm okay with it being Miles now as Spider-Man."
Yeah.
I would have been okay with that. But obviously, it's always got to go back to the status quo.
Absolutely. Highland J, I know you're not a big Spider-Man reader, but are there any stories that jump out to you? Anything that you've read that you've enjoyed?
Yeah, so for me, when I got into sort of Marvel stuff outside of kind of reading through what has now become the sort of Marvel universe of movies, I read a lot of side characters and kind of stuff like that. So for me, one of the big stories that stands out in Spider-Man is the whole Agent Venom kind of arc, where you've got
that's cool.
an injured character who still mentally has all his skills, but he just was unable to actually be of use. And kind of in a Kate Kane style army way, they've made him be able to use the symbiote in order to make himself able-bodied again. And I just love that story. That's
a great pick, mate. That because I forgot about it. It's funny when you've been reading comics. I know everybody on this panel has been reading comics for a long time, but you sometimes forget about some of the storylines and that's one that's completely kind of drifted out of my memory. The Agent Venom stuff.
Flash has been a character right there from the beginning, back in AF-15, and I will say his first appearance as Agent Venom, the second print variant, is beautiful. Yeah, it's one of the best covers.
Yeah, very nice. And again, you're talking there, Luke, about characters that have been around for a long time. It's lovely to have a character with a story arc that's believable. The high school jock bully who's kind of joined the military and then he's made good, as it were.
I just feel sorry for the new reader who looks at it and goes, I want his first appearance. Ash.
Yeah. Chris, how about yourself?
I'm a little bit of a Spider-Man fan, yes. Hands down, Craven's Last Hunt, The Death of Craven, to me is light years the best story that's been told. Is it the most important story? I still think The Death of Gwen is probably the most important story. But the best story as a Spider-Man fan, pound for pound, is The Death of Craven, especially how they tied in Vermin into the storytelling. It wasn't just Craven versus Peter, because that was just a couple panels, especially in the first issue. It was Craven going out and trying to live the life and have fun, but to get into the psychosis of where Craven was, and then find out how his father treated him, and it was incredibly shocking to see someone inflict harm upon themselves in a comic book in the late 80s, as such as what happened to Craven and what he did. I thought it was really, really good, and that they put Craven versus Vermin, who handled himself with no problem, and then when Peter had to handle Vermin's just one of those characters that Peter never got over on. It had to be Captain America that helped him because Spider-Man couldn't handle Vermin for whatever reason. So there's so many elements to that story besides just Craven, inflicting self-harm. It was just incredibly well done, even though it originally wasn't even supposed to be a Spider-Man story. It was solicited elsewhere. But that one, and just to touch on the two latest volumes that we've been dealing with when it comes to Spider-Man, this particular volume has a few hits, mostly misses, and the last volume was just terrible. The one thing I can say is that the limited series of Spider-Man that we've had over the last, say, 3 years have been really good, whether they're what if stories or the Taboo written story where it's Peter in Los Angeles. Those ones actually, in my opinion, have been superior to the normal ASM runs. And I noticed it was in the chat. Fuzzy said Spine-Tailing Spider-Man that comes out this Wednesday. I'm looking really forward to seeing what this one is, because it's going to be another noir story of Peter being dissected and handed a bunch of losses in the beginning of the story to see how he can deal with it. And that's usually, I find, the best Spider-Man stories, where right off the bat he's defeated and has to make the run for victory.
I think you bang on, Chris. And I tell you a series that I really miss, because it wasn't necessarily about Spider-Man, but it was about the connections around him and stuff, was the Tangled Web miniseries. I don't know if you guys remember that. There was some great stories in that little run. I wanted to give a bit of a shout out, it's gone completely out of my brain, but Luke will remind us. Luke, there was a book you recommended to us and I picked up, where it takes Spider-Man through every year of his
Spider-Man life story.
Yeah, really
that's
enjoyed
a great honourable mention.
Yeah.
And again, the whole Craven element in that's a nice take too. I don't want to ruin it. I don't want to say anything about it, but he fights Craven again in that, and this life story has differences to the main line. So
I really enjoyed it.
Very interesting.
Thought it was a great
covers were wonderful as well.
Yeah. And obviously you guys who've mentioned Craven's Last Hunt there will be absolutely ecstatic to go and rush out and see the Craven movie. Yeah,
I am. I don't think it's going to be as bad as
year.
I don't think it's going to be as bad as you guys say. Like, just enjoy it for a popcorn movie.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. So next question for you then. Spider-Man has arguably, probably him and Batman side by side, one of the most interesting array of bad guys, villains attached to him. I want to know now who your favourite villain is, who you enjoy reading the most. We're going to start in the middle, so we'll start with Highland G this time. So Highland G, is there any of those villains that jump out for you?
I think for me the classic sort of Goblin or Hobgoblin kind of stand out to me as ones that I like. I like all the kind of pumpkin bombs and stuff like that.
Yeah, quite inventive. So the Hobgoblin or the Green Goblin, which is your favourite out of those two?
Hobgoblin, I think.
Hobgoblin. Yeah, he's a character that's been kind of reinvented, and different characters and guises over the years, and I'm quite liking the what's the series I'm reading at the moment? The Normie Osborn is the Red Goblin, I think it is, and they've got Phil Urchin as the Goblin King or something in that, who's kind of decomposing, and that's quite an interesting character. I think that's quite good fun. Good choice, Hound G. James, how about yourself?
Mysterio. I love everything about him. The costume. I love the whole idea of like he's a special effects artist that kind of utilizes that to like commit crimes. One of my favorite kind of reveals in a comic book is in Daredevil, Guardian Devil, where it turns out it was kind of a manipulation by him the whole time. I thought that was fantastic, and I feel like he's the most underrated, like being like an original Sinister Six member, one of the most prominent Spidey villains. Like Raimi was only going to have him as a joke in Spider-Man 4, which I think is such a shame, but I'm happy he got to be a main villain in the movie. Thought that was a really interesting take in Far From Home as well. So yeah, absolutely, one of my favorite, probably after the Joker, my favorite comic book villain.
Really? Yeah, very, very cool. Good pick. Chris, how about yourself?
For years after the death of Craven, it's always been Craven for me. And going back and picking up issues from the 60s, the 70s, and then the early 80s, because Craven disappeared for a little bit during the 80s before the death of Craven. But lately, I've really been enjoying the Kingpin as one of the central characters, especially when Marvel made him the mayor of New York.
Yeah.
So he was one of the successful villains that was fighting a war on many fronts, especially with Daredevil and Peter, and also Iron Fist and Luke Cage, and a whole bunch of those street level heroes in Manhattan. But yeah, the Kingpin, especially before the arc of the death of Craven, we had All Out War, and then because of the gangs of New York, and the Kingpin again was a central character behind that. There's just something about the Kingpin that I enjoy. But yeah, it's hard to say. It's hard not to pick one of the members of the Sinister Six. Let's be honest.
There's so many classic characters. That's the thing, and I'm quite enjoying the Kingpin at the moment. And he's probably one of the best bits, I suppose, of some of the X books at the moment, because he's now kind of supporting them and because he's married to Typhoid Mary, who's obviously a mutant. So that's been quite interesting, an interesting change. For me, before we come to Luke, and I'm going to stress that this is the original version, not I'm not into the current kind of tales. But I remember back in the day being a big avid Spider-Man reader and really enjoying the Amazing Spider-Man run, particularly when we had Bagley on the art, because I think Bagley's just a genius. And we were introduced to Cletus Cassidy and the original Carnage couple of issues. It was so shockingly graphic and violent and just a serial killer. No airs and graces, just a nutcase serial killer. And that first kind of mini run, you really felt like he was a proper threat and that, this comic could go anywhere. I think the character has, unfortunately, like many of the characters, been diluted over the years and stuff like that. But that original kind of just mad serial killer element to him with this mental costume, which was just, slicing and dicing. I thought it was a brilliant couple of issue run. Luke, I've left you till last because I'll be shocked if you don't say who I think you're going to say.
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? If anyone at home's playing Hydra Bingo, they already know what I'm going to say. I've said this multiple times before. It's the Lizard, Dr. Connors. The story of a good man who had something terrible before him. He was an army man, a medic, and all he ever wanted to do was regrow his limb so that he could hug his wife and child again, and in doing so turned himself into a monster. I love the duality behind it, and again we see that in other characters, whether it be the Green Goblin or Venom. We have this whole duality nature between the two halves, but it is the Lizard that I love the most. And I'm really quite sad because the Amazing Spider-Man movie, which I really love, the Andrew Garfield movie, I just wish that Lizard design was more in line with those comics. For one, he barely wore that lab coat, and secondly, he didn't have the snout. That's what was missing from that. But without a doubt, the Lizard.
I mean, I love the character, and I absolutely agree with you. It felt like such a missed opportunity, that movie, to have a classic, because you could have done that so well, with the imagery. I know he gets a lot of... Sorry, James, I'll come to you in a second. I know he gets a lot of grief, but the J. Michael... I get his name wrong. Straczynski? Can't pronounce his name properly. Straczynski, yeah. I really liked his original run on Spider-Man, and when he linked the fact that, Spider-Man was the spider totem. And I think there's a great spread where he says, have you never realised that all of your main villains are linked to animal totems?
Yeah.
And I'd never really picked up on that before that issue and thought it through. And then you think, actually, that makes perfect sense. And I don't know if that was ever the intention or if it was just, coincidence or what. But it works in the narrative that he spun, I think.
Well, I also really like the character of Morlan, and I can see how if they wanted to bring that character into the MCU, you could portray him in the role of both things, as like a Dracula character and as the... he's effectively a vampire that likes to feed on totems. It's an acquired taste.
But again, he's been diluted, hasn't he, over the last few years?
He has, and then I do believe that the worst thing they've done was bring in more of his family over, like the Inheritors. I don't think we needed them. I liked Morlan for what he was. I don't think we needed everyone else.
I agree. James, were you about to say something, mate? I cut you off.
I was just about Amazing Spider-Man. You'd have gotten away with one or the other, like the lab coat or the face. Like, it's not having both is the kicker. That was it.
Yeah, no, I agree, mate. I agree. Okay, guys, we're nearly at the end. Last couple of questions for you. We've had lots of different variations, versions of Spider-Man over the last few years in particular. And we've had, obviously, the introduction of Miles Morales and Spider-Gwen, to name a few. So, taking those two off the table, who's your favourite variation of the Spider-Man? It hasn't got to be a Peter Parker. It can be any other kind of spider-based character. I'll start off on this one. It's not a character I know much about, but I love the design and the aesthetics of the Captain Britain Spider-Man that appeared in some of the multiverse tales. I just thought he was great. I loved the idea of a Spider-Man character being given the powers of Captain Britain. I thought that was tremendous. We'll start with Chris this time.
Well, if for me it's Peter every day of the week. And I know you said that we couldn't pick Miles, but the one thing I can say is I didn't want to like Miles, but after reading Miles over the last 5 years and reading the arc Empire of the Spider, man, Miles has the best Spider stories being written right now. But To answer your question, I think I'd have to go with Kane Parker. I
Okay.
read a little bit of Kane in the Web of Spider-Man, and that whole clone saga and that all that bad stuff. But yeah, Kane. I thought Kane was pretty fun, and yeah, and it's shout out to Silk as well. I really like. I thought Cindy Moon was an interesting character. They just seem they can't seem to attach her with the right writer at this point.
Yeah, I'm not enjoying our current series.
Yeah.
It's a bit odd. It's a bit odd.
Mm-hmm.
Highland J, are there any that jump out to you?
I feel like you've just said the two that I was going to mention. So, like, for me, it would be the more modern kind of take on Kane, Scarlet Spider with his full red suit. I loved the whole tagline of, like, all the power, none of the responsibility. And it was all to do with, like, his actual DNA breaking down of the clone, and he had to try and kind of work on that. Like, that was awesome. But I think for him and for Silk, their first like runs of that era were really good, and they just didn't really know what to do with them after that. So like the introduction story of Cindy was amazing, where she'd been like locked away as long as kind of Peter had his powers. She was stuck in this sort of 90s mindset because she'd been kind of like essentially locked in with all these things from that kind of era. And I loved how they kind of played off the fact how like she clicked with J.J. Jameson and straight away and were best friends, whereas like Peter couldn't, and they had this kind of opposite effect. So that first couple of arcs were amazing, and then they just didn't really know what to do with her after that.
Yeah. No, again, a great character. Luke, we'll come to you next.
I don't think there's been a better portrayal of a Spider-Man character than Peter B. Parker from the Spider-Verse movie.
Yeah.
Like, I love that guy. I relate to that guy. That is the Spider-Man that I want. Like, that is without doubt my Spider-Man. He's just grown up.
It's because he was drinking cups of tea, isn't it? That's why
He
you
likes
you've
hamburgers.
aligned too. Yeah, and slippers. Yeah. No, a great character, and I absolutely adored him in the Spider-Verse. I wish we'd had more of him in the second movie, I have to say. But yeah, a great character. James T, how about yourself?
Well, my boy Spidey PS4 was there in the middle of that image, and that's my favorite like interpretation of Spider-Man. But like in terms of like a variant, like a proper like off-kilter kind of version, Spider-Man Noir is incredible. Like I love the aesthetic of it. The costume with the trench coat and the hat is incredible.
All the characters in that story arc are amazing.
The comic book is the
depictions.
actual story is phenomenal. Like, and the versions of like Doc Ock and the Goblin and stuff in it it's amazing. They're supposed to, aren't Amazon doing a show on it?
Yeah,
they
talked
were.
about it, but I think
Like
did
a
it
year
not
ago or
get
something,
shelved?
they said it.
I've not heard anything
get
about
shelved?
it for a long time.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. It seems to, well, I'm saying I've not heard anything, but we wouldn't because of all the strikes and all the rest of it, wouldn't we?
Exactly,
But yeah, I'm excited about a new show, but I wish they had Nicolas Cage attached, because his voice now is in my head for whenever I see that character, you know. But yeah, I love him. Jack is just saying there, Spider-Man 2099 and the white suit version. Love that costume. I'm not sure I've seen the white suit version. I'll have to have a look for that.
Oh yeah,
Very
it's
cool.
I have a Funko over here. It's like white. And
Yeah,
red
it's like
with
white
black
and
on
red.
it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Rather
Very
than blue
cool.
and red.
Okay, guys. Last question, and then we'll call it a night. And this is the one where I want no fisticuffs, right? Luke, James, no fisticuffs. Everybody's opinion is valid, all right? So taking the animated movies out, any of the Spider-Verse movies, and we'll incorporate Venom, if you want, and Morbius in with that. Which is the best Spider-Man movie? And then you can define best in any way you want. The movie that you enjoyed the most, the movie that has the best depiction of Peter Parker, the best depiction of Spider-Man, but you can only give us one answer and one answer only. Again, I'm going to start off. God, Luke's going to get into it. I bet it's. I'm going to start off, and for me, it's purely a nostalgia thing, really, and it's got to be Spider-Man 2. Purely for that Doc Ock interpretation, the train fight scene, the church fight, not the church, sorry, the tall building, the bank fight.
Yeah.
I think the performances are perfect in it, particularly the villain in it. And I think for me, back then, that was at a time when we were just starting to get introduced to superhero movies, but I don't think we'd had a kind of a real comic book fight on screen. and then that train scene came out, and I still see the special effects in that stand up better than some of the CGI in recent Marvel movies. The train fight scene is just beyond belief. I absolutely love it. Toby's Toby. He wouldn't necessarily be my choice for the best Peter Parker, but in terms of a movie, I absolutely love that one. Chris, we'll come to you next.
Sure. I think Andrew Garfield is the best Spider-Man, hands down. In the suit, I think it's Andrew Garfield. He's the only one that was able to, but seems been able to be sharp-witted and quick-witted and drop the one-liners. But for me, it's hard to argue against Spider-Man 2, but I got to go with, what was it, No Way Home?
No Way Home.
Just because we got all three on the screen.
Yeah.
Because Andrew Garfield's my favorite Spider-Man, the redemption scene of catching MJ I thought was really well done. But hands down, for me, the best Spider-Man scene that's ever been filmed was the death of Gwen and her falling, and then seeing Andrew Garfield's response to her death, and then the filmmaking that came afterwards with the seasons passing, where we find out then that he hasn't put the suit on. I thought that was really well done. I think the director, Mark Webb, was forced to cram way too much into The Amazing Spider-Man 2, and a blue Electro may not be forgivable. But I kind of was curious if they would have went with The Amazing Spider-Man 3. It looked like we would have got some sort of variation of the Sinister Six, even though we did get to see a little bit of in No Way Home. But No Way Home, for me, just because it was that the fan servicing of all three of them, and the introduction of both Toby and Andrew Garfield into their scenes and their quick little battle that they had, and get to see Tom Holland actually act as Peter Parker, Spider-Man, in the death that he had to deal with. I thought it was just well done. But it's hard to argue against Spider-Man 2.
Yeah. I think I'm a big fan of that movie, and I think for me, it's not even just the action scenes. I absolutely love just the interaction between the three of them, when they're jaunting at each other, and the way to your webs don't come out of your hands, and that all that kind of banter back and forth. I just love the scene at the school, and yeah, it's a great pick. Highland G, how about yourself?
So for me, I've just done a bit of it. Think about it. I think for me, it's probably like overall. I think the first Spider-Man film was such a big impact into superhero movies, and it was so close to the way the comics kind of felt. It wasn't overloaded or anything like that. It was based on sort of the Mary Jane story and stuff. Like, I think for me as an overall movie, I think that one kind of stood out. But thinking about it as a whole of like how Spider-Man kind of fits into the Marvel universe, I actually think Civil War made Spider-Man look the coolest, because he actually holds up against the other heroes. He stops Cap's shield, he lifts heavy things, like he really stands up against everybody else, whereas in his own movies he doesn't really get to do that in the same.
Captain America had no idea that he was dropping that flipping thing on top of him and that he would survive. Like,
it's interesting again, because I remember, we kind of take some of this stuff for granted now, I think, but I remember when the news broke that Spider-Man was going to be in that movie, and how excited I was, and trying to explain it to normal folk why it was a big deal.
The only thing that would have made it bigger for me is if they had not revealed the actor at that point and he unmasked in the movie. That would have been the only thing that could have made it better. Like,
great choice.
I love that.
I had tears.
Great choice. Yeah. James, how about yourself?
Mine is also No Way Home. I think just as like a cinema experience, I've never been as excited or had such a blast like watching a movie. I think it has the emotion to it, the heart. It's hilarious, like start to finish. Just that kind of, it's just nostalgia injected straight into your veins, but done really well. Like, even to the extent that I was enjoying the first like 10-20 minutes so much, I was like, if this didn't even have Toby and Andrew, because we didn't know for a fact, we just heavily assumed. I was like, even if they weren't in it, like, I probably wouldn't mind, because I'm just enjoying the main part of it so much. I think it's probably everybody's, but like, it's definitely Andrew Garfield's best performance as Spider-Man. I think it's Tom Holland's as well. Toby could probably argue maybe like in Spider-Man 2 or something, but yeah, no, it's just a Spider-Man movie, it's like one of the most perfect ones. So like I absolutely adore that one.
Yeah, I'm probably going to have to go back and rewatch it. Actually, just talking about it's making us want to go back and check all of them out again. To be honest, Luke, how about yourself, mate?
Well, in the spirit of everyone's opinion counts, I'm going to give my opinion. I knew someone would pick Spider-Man 2, so without a doubt, yeah, that's obviously the winning favourite. However, shortly after that, it's the Amazing Spider-Man 2, and I'll tell you why. I don't mind Blue Electro. I don't mind the things that they've done with him. You know, you take it with a pinch of salt when you go into these movies that things are going to be different and change. What I loved the most, and you know, Chris touched upon this with the cinematography and stuff like that of the movie. I loved that the whole movie was based on time. You know, it was all, he was late for everything. He was always late, all the way through the movie. You know, he's having phone calls left, right, and center. I'll be there in a minute. I'll be there soon. I'm just round the corner, this, that, and the other. And right where it counts, he's those fractions of seconds too late to save Gwen. And it is heartbreaking. And I just think that concept alone, and the fact that they done her death in a clock tower as opposed to the bridge, and you know, all these things, I think that alone makes that a better film. You can forget the other stuff. You can see where the studios had to dip in and push certain things, and they were trying to insert more. Blue Electros aside, all of the rest, they done the Gwen Stacy story justice with the way that they done that part. And overall, I do believe that the Amazing Spider-Man films, both of them, when put together, are the best origin story for Peter Parker. It's a young kid whose parents left him and he didn't know why. He grew up with his aunt and uncle, who his uncle then passes away and he feels like that's his fault. And then he loses the girl of his dreams, the girl that he loves. And it's only then that he becomes Spider-Man. And so seeing him go up against the Rhino, again, albeit that is not the best depiction of the Rhino, it doesn't matter. It's so heartfelt. It is. He becomes our Spider-Man at the end of that movie. Now, obviously, No Way Home says afterwards, oh, he stopped pulling his punches and he done this, that, and the other, which again, I love. I totally understand where he's coming from. But just at face value, when you watch those two Andrew Garfield movies and you don't know that there's more coming, that ends with you having Spider-Man.
Yeah. Good point. Good point. And I enjoy that movie. I don't enjoy it as much as the later performances, I think, by Andrew Garfield. But yeah, I think he was criminally undercut in terms of not getting a third movie. That was a shame. And also, out of
they
everybody,
just trusted the audience. Like nowadays, we've got multiverses all over the place. They should have just trusted that we could have that and that.
In terms of people,
shit, though, because it was an amazing Spider-Man movie. So.
in terms of people who just love the character as well, you can see Andrew Garfield absolutely adores being in the costume and being the character, you know, which I think is tremendous. Okay, guys, that was really interesting. Thank you very much. Nice to talk about Spider-Man for a change in positive ways, I think. So yeah, exciting things to come as well. That's Wowak. That's everything done for tonight. Just before we move on, I just wanted to mention, sorry, Chris, this is an old slide, but you should be on here as well. So Rob Fatstacks, Chris, the comic vet, myself, and Dr. Von Hoot are all up for categories of the Comic Book Awards. That's still live for another week or two, I think. So please do, if you want, go and check those out, and please do vote appropriately. Would appreciate your support, I'm sure. So thank you for that. Just want to mention that on my channel, you can see is at Triple G Comics on YouTube, @G_Comics on Instagram. Got a couple of videos out at the moment. Best Bat Villains is currently out. Really keen for people to watch that. That's a good fun jaunt. Last night I did a live show with my pal Efren. We talked about comics coming out in December and reviewed a few books. So again, please do check that out. Also on that slide, I've got my new channel with my good friend James T. Keegan at One Good Scare Show. James, do you want to tell the people a little bit about what we've had recently on the channel?
Yeah, so we've had our first live show last week, so that went really well. We've had a couple of kind of bits kind of chopped up and thrown up on the channel. So there's a Saw review, kind of standalone, up there as well. And then yesterday, not yesterday, Friday, yesterday, we had our first episode of I'll Be Right Back, which is our kind of review retrospective series. And we talked about the first Friday the 13th movie. And yeah, it was really fun. I'm really happy how it came out. Like, I've never been as proud, I think, at the end of an edit. Like, so yeah, I think it's a good one. You should check it out.
Yeah. So please do go and check that out. It's a fun video all about Friday the 13th. And if you like horror content, please do go check out that new channel because it's just starting and would appreciate your support. Okay. Luke, what have you got coming up over on Hydra Collectibles?
Yeah, so just before I say that, can I just point out that you guys should be really proud of what you've done with that new channel, because I really enjoyed it. I've binge watched all of the content that you've put up so far, and you know, even though some of it is like edits from the main live show, what you have done with it and what you've added to it since that was on has been really good. So yeah, everyone please do go and check that out, because you've done a good job. I'm a little bit jealous that I'm not part of it. But yeah, on Hydra Collectibles, I'm doing my own movie reviews, and this month focusing on some horror themed content. And on Monday, I'm going to be delving into the true beginning of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That, of course, being Blade.
One of my favourites.
So I'm going to be heading over and seeing whether or not it still holds up, you know, because sometimes we look back with rose tinted. Oh, don't give it away, Peter.
No, it absolutely does.
It does. Superb. It does. But yeah, please do head on over there and check out that video. I did have a bit of trouble trying to put it all together. Luckily, James was able to help me out with some software, but I was struggling with the edit a bit because it all stopped working. But yeah, that's out on Monday, so please do go and check that out.
Excellent. And I thoroughly enjoyed your Beetlejuice review, so go check that one out as well, please and gents. Only thing I would say, Luke, is Blade is a tremendous film, but Blade 2 is a superior film. I love
absolutely. Those are they called Reavers or Reapers?
Yeah.
Reapers.
3? Cowie, Chris.
Come on. We got Trinity. A Canadian shows up in the third one. You know I got to go with that.
Well, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. Highland G, how's things going on your channel at the moment?
Yes, I've been going a little bit slower, but I spent a bit of time recently putting together sort of advice for sort of new people in the comic community. So I made a video about a week ago or so now. I've got about 11 different people's sort of videos compiled kind of into that, and I think it kind of went quite well. So if you haven't seen it, it's worth kind of checking out, kind of sharing with anybody who's looking for kind of some tips of just, you know, all those little stumbling blocks we all kind of come across when we first kind of get in, and you're just looking for a bit of advice as to kind of where to kind of start. And then hopefully tomorrow I'll be kind of getting back to normal. So I've got a haul coming out, and then some closer looks after that.
Tremendous. And I would just say the video you put out last week with those little clips and things in is brilliant. There's some great advice in that. I really, really enjoyed it. And I was very pleased. I know a few of you have taken part in it as well. So thank you for asking me to do that. It's a great vid. Chris, what have we got coming up over on your channel?
Well, at some point this evening, it's only 6:15 here. Right. I'll be dropping the latest Two Cool Guys, Two Hot Picks, where myself and Mark from Legion of Comics each pick one hot book that we think everyone should consider for the upcoming New Comic Book Day. But most importantly, next Wednesday, I'll be doing, with Rob's Fat Stacks, Comics Curing Cancer preview night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we're going to be spotlighting a lot of the books and original artwork and other items that's going to be available next weekend during Comics Curing Cancer across multiple channels, in which some people can just drop a donation or participate in some live auctions, or I'm sure there's going to be giveaways as well. This is going to be some of the items that's going to be spotlighted. And let me tell you, backstage for Only Slabs that happened a few hours ago, Rob was showing me some original artwork from a certain Spider-Man limited series that dropped in the last couple of years. So you're going to want to make sure that you check out, show us what you got this upcoming Wednesday. Like I said, 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time for that C3 preview night. Thanks, Pete.
I'm so excited. Honestly, I'm so excited for this. I need to get onto the link tree and work out the timings for over here in the UK for the live auctions and things like that, to make sure we can get some bids and things in, because some of the stuff is phenomenal that I've seen shared on Instagram so far. So yeah, can't wait. Oh, Von Hoot's just saying midnight in the UK. Spot on, bud. Thank you very much. Yeah. Excellent. Good stuff. Thank you very much, Chris. Okay, ladies and gents, final plug for me. Monday night, we have got our live show at 8 o'clock British Standard Time. Myself, Efren and James are going to be each selecting what we think are the 3 best comic book stories of all time and our 1 worst comic book story of all time. So that's going to be an interesting chat. So please do jump on and check that out on Monday night at 8 o'clock. And that's your whack. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining. Huge thank you to the panel. You guys are fantastic. Please do make sure you go and check out everybody's YouTube pages. Please make sure you support them on Instagram. And most definitely check out the Comics Curing Cancer stuff at the end of the week, because that's going to be tremendous. And I'm hoping, fingers crossed, everything crossed, that it absolutely smashes that target and makes an awful lot of money for a very important charity. Huge thank you to everybody that's been in the chat. It's been popping tonight. We had 20 odd people at one point, so thank you so much. Really do appreciate your time. And with that, we'll call it a night. So, night everybody, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.